back here on this Friday. How's everybody doing today? Starlord, how's your Friday? By the way, answer to your question, that first song that was playing in the pre-stream is from Castlevania Bloodlines. It's a remix, so it's sped up a little bit, or slowed down, I should say. It's slowed down a bit. It's a remix that another YouTuber put together, and I found it very catchy. So I thought, hey, I'll grab it, and I could use it. So that's an answer to your question there. But hope you're doing okay. How was your week? How was your day? What are the plans for the weekend, everybody? Let me know as we settle in on this Friday. Look, listen. Spend 9 hours at the movie theater yesterday, or one day. Drive for 20 minutes looking for a gas station that accepts credit cards. Get extremely hungry. Go to 7-Eleven, buy a pizza, go home, scarf down said pizza, and a Tall House cookie ice cream sandwich. Go to sleep, wake up with massive heartburn, and feel like shit. Let's go. That was my day and my morning. But you know what? Last night, it was worth every single moment eating that pizza because I was starving. Because all I had to eat yesterday was popcorn and a soda. And because of said popcorn and soda, let's say somebody had to leave a certain movie to take a massive dump. So there you go. And I'll talk about all of that a little later on when we talk about some of these movies that I watched yesterday. But yeah, it was quite a day yesterday. And no, that's not the reason why I streamed late today. The reason why I streamed late today is because I actually had some stuff I had to work on last minute behind the scenes. But yeah, let's just say I've been having a massive, I feel like Pizza the Hut in Spaceballs, like every time he spoke, like gas was just coming out of him in all the orifices that he had. So that's how I felt like today. I was basically slugging around like Pizza the Hut, like I just felt like gas just kept coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if gas was coming out of my ears at one point. But yeah, like I said, worth every moment of it. It's an awesome week, Starlord. That's great to hear. What made your week so awesome, if you don't mind sharing? That was a chocolate chip cookie. What was a chocolate chip cookie? Oh, you mean the emoji you were trying to use? No, because that emoji is actually very accurate as to what happened to me yesterday. Extremely accurate. Oh man. Yeah. It was quite a moment. And it's probably the second time that's ever happened to me ever at the movies. The only other time that really happened to me was during Barbenheimer. I went to see, first of all, I drove like an hour away from where I am in New York to New Rochelle, this place called New Rochelle. And the reason why I drove that far is because that was the only theater that was showing Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter IMAX closest to me that wasn't completely sold out. So I went there to watch Oppenheimer, right? I watched Oppenheimer and then I watched Barbie afterwards. And probably sometime during the first act of Barbie, it hit me. And I had to run out of the theater, I had to go to the bathroom, and I had to make a deposit. Now, at least with Barbie, it didn't matter much because I actually already saw Barbie before that. Because I don't know if you guys know the story or if I shared it before. I actually went to a preview screening for the movie Barbie. It was like a test screening. So I saw the movie even before a lot of the special effects was implemented, before a lot of the soundtrack and music was in there. I saw scenes that were not in the final cut. I was treated to the alternate, I guess, pre-credits, post-credit ending that they eventually put back in the re-release of Barbie, but they never put on the Blu-ray release, which baffles my mind. So since I already saw it, I felt like I wasn't really missing anything. Yesterday, when it happened to me, funny story, and it kind of shows you what kind of movie it was. I left the theater. I was gone for at least 15 minutes. I come back, and I felt like I really didn't miss much of anything. So, what does that say about your movie if that happens to somebody, right? Starlord, I've been fixing up my place, put in new windows, and cut some trees. Oh, that's awesome, dude. That sounds brilliant. I've been wanting to install new windows in my place for a long time, but I just never had a chance to. So I'm glad you were able to do a lot of stuff for your home. That's awesome. What's going on, Scorched You? Which movie? In regards to what? Yesterday? My internet. So yesterday I saw 3 movies. I literally spent 9 hours at the movie theater. I saw the new Inside Out 2, followed by The Watchers, and a movie I wasn't really expecting to see, but I was kind of intrigued by, and that is A24's latest Tuesday. The movie is called Tuesday. So I'll be talking about those 3 movies in a little bit, but it was during The Watchers that I was forced to vacate my theater and vacate my stomach into the toilet. Yeah. So let's just say I had a kind of an emergency, but everything worked out in the end. How was Tuesday? Okay, without going into like full details or anything like that, I'll be going and talking about it more later on in this stream when I do my full review. The movie Tuesday is a very strange movie. I think people are gonna either hate it or like it. It's kind of hard to get through when, in all sense of reality here, you have a character that's talking to a CG bird for a good portion of the movie. However, Julia Louis-Dreyfus gave an amazing performance, probably one of the best performances I ever seen her give. And there was a certain emotional moment that happened towards the end of the movie that gutted me. It really, really like hit me hard. So I ended up really liking it. I compare this movie very much like Lamb, if you recall the movie Lamb, if you've ever seen it. Strange movie, bizarre movie, right? But afterwards, when you think about the movie and you think about the story, and when you think about kind of the message, it's very unique. It's very unique. And I think it made me appreciate the moment I had more time to think about it. And it's an interesting concept. And it's definitely like a different fairy tale type of story. So I liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. So if the strange but unique storylines intrigue you, Scorched, then this might be a movie worth checking out for you. But like I said, I'll go more into a detailed review about it later on. But I appreciate you asking. Thank you. Starlord heard about The Watchers. Yeah, The Watchers was a movie. I will say that. Sub, you're the coolest to do. Oh, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people do this, and the fact that I do, I stream in the regular format and vertical at the same time to give people options, because I know some people don't like the vertical, some people don't like the horizontal, so I do it twice, and I don't think a lot of people do that. So hey, I figured I'd try something different, but I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it. But yeah, The Watchers was a movie. It definitely was a movie. It was interesting. But before I get into all that stuff, no, The Watchers is kind of like a fairy tale. Again, I'll get into a little bit about that later. But before we get into all that stuff, I got to talk about this bit of news, because This movie is just doomed, I think. And I think at this point, in my opinion, if I was a big honcho over at Disney working with Marvel, I would say let's just scrap this movie altogether. Let's just kill it. Let's just, put it on the back burner, maybe reconfigure it, maybe turn it into like a TV series or anything like that. But I got to talk about this because this has been going back and forth for a very long time. Scorched, you definitely called it. Especially because it's, you have a great star attached to this in Mahershala Ali. Great actor, right? But this movie has just been doomed for the last couple of years, right? And they once again lost their director. And I'm going to talk about the news that dropped because this all dropped yesterday, I believe. And it baffles me on why this movie just has this many problems. And I think it kind of just shows you the state of Marvel Studios, kind of what they're trying to do in the back end. I just feel like there is just a lot of conflict. And I think that this movie is just doomed. And I think it's time to kind of just call it a day with it. Call it a day. Think about it again. Revisit it later on when you have a clear idea of what you want to actually do with the character and what you want to do with that portion of the Marvel universe that the character will reside in. Because I feel like they don't know yet. They really don't know. When it comes to the supernatural aspect of the MCU, Werewolf by Night was brilliant. I enjoyed it. I think it is one of the coolest things that Marvel put out in recent years. And that is the realm where this will where I could see Blade live in, right? But they haven't really fleshed it out yet. Yeah, we got a little hint with, who's that? At the end of the Eternals, with the guy who's supposed to be the Black Knight, Kit Harington. Yeah, we heard like little whispers here and there. Mahershala like kind of like whispered some stuff. He has like the blade and all, the sword, I should say. But they haven't really fleshed out the supernatural aspects of the MCU. And I think that's one of the things that is causing problems when it's all this stuff, right? So let me just get to the chats real quick here. Star-Lord, I'm done with Blade. It's taking too long for such a gift-wrapped premise. It should be simple, in other words. You would think so. Scorch, they're going to have to recast him. He's moved on to other projects. But to be honest, even if he tries to leave, Marvel probably has him tied up in contracts. Yes, that's true, I think. However, he signed up to 2019. Can't be too long before his contract is up. I personally think, this is my speculation at this point, and this is what I think is going to happen here. I think Mahershala walks. I think he's going to leave the project. Maybe creative differences and all that. Contracts aside or what? Yes, you're right. He's been signed on for some time now. But there has to be something in there that if nothing gets done, you can't tie him up with other things that he's trying to do, right? We haven't really seen him do much. The last thing I've seen him on recently was that movie that came out on Netflix last year. The post-apocalyptic movie that I actually really liked. The name escapes me at the moment, but I did a review for it and I really enjoyed it. But other than that, we haven't really seen him do much of anything. And I wonder if it's because he is so trying to like figure out his schedule with the whole Marvel thing going on, and maybe there's some other things that are just taking time to get off the back burner or whatever the case is. But I really do feel like at this point, with all of these creative differences, directors leaving, them rewriting the entire script from scratch, I think he's walking at this point. I really do think he's going to try to walk. And I wouldn't blame him. And it will be a huge loss, I think, in my opinion, in the overall world of the Marvel Universe and all that. Because I think he would have been a brilliant Blade, but he's also getting older too, right? I mean, how much longer are you going to expect that guy to want to be a character like this, knowing how Marvel works and knowing that they're probably going to have him do multiple movies or at least multiple incarnations of the character in different series or shows or movies or whatever, right? It's too much. It's too much for him to have to deal with at this point, I think, in my opinion. And he deserves better. He's a great actor. He deserves better than this, in my opinion. I thought the Batman had onset issues, that almost canceled the film. Right. Yeah, you think, well, the Batman 2 seems to be having problems too at the moment, right? And I think James Gunn is trying to put the kibosh on all the rumors and all that, but I don't know. we'll see what happens. But let's recap. If you are tuning in and you have no idea what we're talking about, I'm here on the Hollywood Reporter, and I'm going to recap the news from yesterday. Also, I need to get better at this again. I say this all the time. But if you are watching, do me a favor, hit that like button. Would greatly appreciate. It's a quick, simple 1-second thing. Boop. And then you're done. You'll make me really happy, and it really helps support the channel. So, whew, let's take a breather, shall we? Let's get into this article, and let's talk about this. So, Marvel's Blade loses director Yann Demange. Mahershala Ali, who has been attached to the project since 2019, remains the star. For now, at least. For now. We will see. The departure is described as amicable and happened some time ago. It's the latest in a number of creative challenges for the project, which Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige announced to fanfare at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019 when he surprised the crowd by bringing out star Mahershala Ali and presenting him with a Blade cap. Blade was preparing to go into production in the fall of 2022 when the director Bassam Tariq exited over creative differences. Then sources say Ali handpicked Lovecraft Country Helmer Demange to direct, but months later it became one of the major features delayed by the writer's strike in May of 2023. As of yet, it never made it to production. Ali remains attached to star in the project, and the studio is not looking to rush the film. Well, no shit. At this point, I mean, you have no choice but to kind of delay it, right? Marvel mainstay Eric Pearson is working on the latest draft of the project, which has a release date of November 7, 2025. I guarantee you that date is going to get pushed back. This is probably, if it at all sees the light of day, I could see this maybe earliest 2026. We'll see. The Blade news also comes as Marvel recalibrates its output and expects to have more breathing room as it releases around 2 films a year, following pressures to ramp up film and TV content in the early 2020s. And then it says here that, yes, Ali's Blade made a voice cameo in The Eternals. That was something that I mentioned before. Kit Harington, blah, 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 this and that. And it talks about how Wesley Snipes obviously was the original Blade in the original movies from the 90s and so on and so forth. And then it gives a little history about the character of Blade. And they're just trying to fluff the article a little bit more with all that information. So, what say all of you watching? Are we ever going to see this movie at all? And if we do, will it still be intact with star Mahershala Ali attached to it? I think at this point, it would be a miracle if we ever see him attached to anything Blade related, let alone Marvel related at this point in his career. And the thing is, it's like this. It's like, if I was like an actor, like a well-known actor, right? And I was given an opportunity to be in a Marvel movie, a Star Wars film, a major IP. I, of course, will take a chance at it because the amount of money I could earn from it will allow me to do smaller projects, which is something that I would probably want to do. If I was ever an actor, I don't want to be tied to big blockbuster features and all that. I would love to do A24 style of films because that's my jam. That's kind of what I like to do. However, if you're a working professional, I don't see the problem with attaching yourself to a Marvel film, a Disney film, Star Wars film, DC film, and all that. Because, one, you do get exposure. People will get to see you, especially if you're a brand new actor. 2, you get a good amount of revenue from it, right? Your paycheck is probably going to be pretty decent. And that will allow you to do anything else that you want to do in your career without having to like force yourself to constantly work. Plus, imagine the royalties, about if your character and likeness is used over again, merchandise, this and that. Now, I know different contracts stipulate different things, but still, you'll probably get a small cut out of it all. And at the end of the day, it's going to be beneficial for your career, right? But for something like this, I do kind of feel bad for him because this is something that should have been already in the works. We should already be somewhat seeing it sometime soon. And who knows, maybe he himself had to change schedules around because of expectations of this film. Maybe he had to turn down certain projects because of this. And it's just really unfortunate. really unfortunate. And I think Marvel's screwing this up big time. So I would be really surprised if we ever get to see this version of Blade with him attached to it. And it'll be a miracle if we ever get to see the movie at all, period, at this point. I'm sure they're going to find someone that's going to be the yes man, the okay person. They'll agree to everything Disney and Marvel wants, do the film, and it'll eventually get released. As far as quality is concerned, we don't know. It depends on who's attached to it, right? But yeah, what this is probably, when you look at the overall history of Marvel Studios, especially during like the Disney era, this is probably the most troubles they've had with any movie trying to get off the ground. And what a weird time for it to happen too, during a time where people are already voicing their opinions on how they feel about superhero films by not supporting them in general. And to have issues like this happen, if this isn't a sign that you need to really take several steps back and refigure things out, Kevin Feige, I think, needs to be back in control, back in the weeds of things, and all right, let's think like we were thinking back in 2008, 2009, 2010, and let's reformulate all of this stuff, because whatever's happening now is not working, and it's a little nuts. It's a little crazy. So there you have it. Those are just my opinions, but again, I would love to hear all of your thoughts about all of this. Star-Lord, let's see. DH Wesley Snipes like they did for Indiana Jones. He's half vampire, so technically he can still age older. But honestly, Wesley Snipes looks good for his age. If you ever seen him do recent stuff, he actually doesn't look that bad. What a better story for a conflict to have. As Blade gets older, he will either become full human or full vampire. He now has a walking cane, but with a sword inside. So in a way, you could kind of make the older Blade the Whistler character in the storyline, right? And he could end up becoming the mentor for somebody new. The whole Blade and the cane thing, that's very cliche, but I could see it happen. That's too funny, though. That's really funny. But yeah, I had to talk about that because that is just, in my opinion, just batshit crazy. And yeah, I can't believe a movie like this, a movie that's already proven in the past to be successful and popular, how bad could it be? How bad could it be? It's just nuts. Star-Lord, it is cliche, yeah, but I'm sure on purpose, right? You kind of want to give it a little tongue in cheek. I get it. What's going on, Suck? Nice to see you here. Good evening to you over there. How are you doing, man? How was your week? How was your Friday? Taking a little breather, guys. I felt like I was going 100 miles a minute just now. I'm all pumped up. I guess, this is what happens when you have a vacating experience at the movies. Sucks saying his week has been all right. All right, cool. Good to hear. Hope you have exciting plans for the weekend. What's the plan for today? Okay, so very fair question. So I just went through what felt like a 20-minute rant about the Blade movie and all the problems that it's been having for Marvel and Disney, them losing another director. So I just went through a whole rant about that. Now, in a little bit, I'm going to be talking about 3 movies that I saw yesterday. First review will be Inside Out 2. Second one will be The Watchers. And the third movie in my mega review stream, is going to be about a movie called Tuesday, the latest A24 release that came out here in the States. That stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus in what I will say is probably one of the best roles she's ever done. Again, a bad Blade movie. Well, it's funny. It's a bad Blade movie that has not even yet started. They can't seem to get it started and getting it off the ground. So Solar Blade forgets that he's Blade every now and then and becomes a fun, crazy grandpa. Uh-oh. So you're basically combining now Blade with Bad Grandpa. Is that your version of the Blade movie that they should make? Blade Crazy Grandpa. Also, for anyone who's watching here live right now, weekends are big for movies. Obviously, it's a good time to catch up on movies or TV. Let me know what are your plans as far as watching is concerned. What are you watching? This weekend, big TV release for a lot of people where you got the season 2 of House of Dragons starting up this weekend. So that's going to be very exciting for a lot of people. The Boys just dropped, was it, the first 3 episodes of their latest season. I need to still catch up on The Boys, so I'm a little behind on that stuff. And I'm sure if for those who haven't yet watched it, a lot of people are going to probably end up watching The Acolyte this weekend. Because, like, for example, a lot of my friends, they don't get a chance to watch it until the weekend. Movie-wise, there's a good amount of options as well, too. So let me know what you're planning to watch this weekend. Starlord saying, give Deadpool a run for his money. So how am I doing? I'm doing okay. I had an interesting experience yesterday. And I started the stream with a very quick summary of how my day was and how it led into my morning and all that. Just to recap it, basically, I spent 9 hours at the movie theater watching 3 movies, didn't eat anything but popcorn and soda. Because of that, I had to rush to the bathroom during one of the movies, vacate the premises, come back, find out I didn't really miss much of anything, leave the theater, need to go get gas, drove around 20 minutes trying to find a gas station to accept credit cards, got really hungry, drove to a convenience store, 7-Eleven here in the United States, bought a pizza and some sweets, got home, ate half the pizza, ate a big chocolate chip cookie ice cream sandwich, went to bed, woke up with massive heartburn, and walking around with a bunch of gas all throughout the day. So that's my, once again, quick summary of my day leading into my maybe that's why I'm so energetic, because of all the flatulence, all the things that are exiting my body. It's keeping me light on my toes, and I feel like I want to party like it's Friday. It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Yeah, so, or maybe just because it's Friday and I have the Friday vibes for some reason, even though days of the week are all mixed up to me. So I love how Starlord is continuing on his Blade epic saga story here. It's like half Blade, half White Man Can't Jump. So that means you're going to have so maybe the new Blade is going to be a white guy who is kind of like your least expected person to become a vampire hunter. And now it's this guy trying to deal with this new guy. And for some reason, this new guy has a girlfriend that is way out of his league, but also is really dying so hard to be a contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So she is trying to audition for that show. And while this guy is trying so hard to become a vampire hunter, and and that's where the comedy ensues and all that. Am I close? I don't. Let's not even have Wesley Snipes train Woody Harrelson anymore. Let's bring in someone new. How about that guy from Big Bang Theory? The guy Sheldon. Sucks saying my soundboard is an average Germany club experience. Oh man, really? So you have a mixture of, right? You got a mixture of that. Then you got this, which I feel like if you go to any club, you're gonna hear something like this, right? And then you got 8-bit music, an explosion and a horn, which of course every club does, right? And then you got farts. And you got one of the best quotes in some recent movie history. There you go. Knowing all that, I kick myself for not going to a club in Germany when I was there. Yeah, some parts. They used to be in movies a lot together. You mean Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson? Yeah, it is. It's kind of interesting. Like during that time, you did find a lot of duos, like you know, people who would usually be in movies together. I guess in a way, and this is very Hollywood of them to do it, very similar to like how Eddie Murphy was very good with Nick Nolte in the 48 Hours franchise. I felt like in some way they were trying to recreate that magic with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. I'm sure Hollywood's like, well, look how well that did. And people seem to love that type of chemistry. So why don't we do something similar with these two guys? Sucks saying, I think Blade should be played by Adam Sandler. Oh, shabba-da-doo, shabba-da-doo. Oh, looky, here is a vampire. Hello, Mr. Vampire. Oh, shut up. That's my really bad 90s impersonation of Adam Sandler. If not Blade, then definitely someone will reboot their movies or reprise their roles. Weren't they, or didn't we already get Another White Man Can't Jump with Jack Harlow? Am I just dreaming that, or did that actually happen? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, you're gonna see, you're like, oh, hello there, Mr. Vampire. You blew it! And then just like, you know, slice his damn head off. What's going on, Tommy? Nice to see you back here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great week. It did happen. It was horrible. See, I knew I wasn't imagining that. For some reason, I thought maybe it was like a fever dream, but I remember seeing a trailer for that. I'm like, are you serious? They're actually doing this? What a hot mess. Oh, glad you had a good week, man. Yeah, my week's been good. Busy, but good. What was the other movie that? Let's think about it. Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes. Did they do? Were they in that Pelham 123 movie, the train movie? Was that the other movie they were in? The Take 'Em of Pelham something something. That was like a remake of an older movie from like the 70s, I think. Told me, yeah, if they don't land a good writer and director for Blade, just wrap it up. Yeah, I think at this point, it's just, come on. It's so ridiculous that something that has already been done, you already have the examples, right? Just do something similar to that, or at least just go off of that and write a simple story. But the fact that they can't seem to do that, losing 2 directors now at this point, having to have to rewrite the whole script, very close to losing their star, and I think they're still going to lose the star. Just call it a day. Put it back on the shelf. Say, okay, let's revisit this 5 years in 5 years, and then see what happens after that. Money Train. That was the other movie they did. That's right. I remember seeing that movie. I don't really remember much of it. Oh yeah, it was some weird concept that there was supposedly a subway train that goes throughout New York City that carries money, which is not true. That doesn't really happen. Or something like that. Tell me they better pay Jordan Peele his quote to run that part of Marvel. Now that would be fascinating. I just said it before that Marvel still has to figure out the whole supernatural aspect of their universe. Werewolf by Night was a great start, but they have been like fiddling and like fumbling and trying to figure out how to work that aspect to get. Oh man, that's brilliant to get Jordan Peele to head up that side of the business. Oh, and structure wise, why don't they do that? Why doesn't Kevin Feige needs like generals under him, right? He needs generals to kind of like head up the certain genres within the MCU. You have your space genre, you have your grounded level genre, you have your supernatural stuff, you have your mystical magical stuff. Why doesn't he have certain well-known directors, or at least ones with like great ideas and creativity, to head up these kind of genres within the MCU? And they all report to him, so that way he doesn't have to be in the weeds of everything. Have these like generals all around working for him. That would be brilliant. All of you, I'm taking all of you with me. We're going to Hollywood right now. We're going to knock down Disney's door and we're going to take over. That's it. Let's go. So, I did watch the Darth Maul video. I did. And I'll say this. It was a very well done video. Very well put together. Well formulated and well, written. It also reminded me that there's a certain side of the fan base that I just don't care about. And don't take that in offense, but, and he already mentioned it multiple times during the video that he's a big Darth Maul fan. So of course he's going to talk his boy up, right? Now, he did back it up with some facts and all that. And I do agree that Darth Maul is a very strong character that was never really truly fully realized in major forms of media. Now, you can argue that the Clone Wars is a major form of media, but I feel like most people who watch the movies never watched the Clone Wars, right? And there's definitely a lot there that they could have explored. And I also thought he went out way too soon. They should have like kept him around throughout the entire trilogy of the prequels. That would have been something that's better, right? But still, after watching a video like that, I still think, honestly, Ahsoka is better than him, because his downside, which he does mention in the video, is that he's very arrogant. And that's one of the downsides of people who fall within the dark side of the Force, is that they tend to be very arrogant. They tend to be very flawed. Not saying the Jedis aren't flawed, they are, but he's very flawed because of his emotions, and he's too cocky. Yes, exactly, he's too cocky, and that will always be his downside, and that's why he will never achieve the level of like a Darth Vader, or be one of the best Sith representations in Star Wars history, right? And we've seen that kind of trope in many different forms too. Other stories, you're going to see, like, one great example is Dragon Ball Z. For anyone who is like an anime fan or Dragon Ball fan, right? One of my all-time favorite characters is Piccolo. Piccolo, now if you remember, when he was first introduced, was supposed to be much stronger than Goku, right? But because he's so arrogant, because he's so cocky, because he's so full of himself, he lets that take over. And that's why he always ends up losing to Goku. That's why he always ends up getting assed out in everything that he does, every time he's at a fight, right? But he's supposed to be one of the strongest characters in the Dragon Ball Z universe. But he can never be that because he can't seem to get over that. Now, in later years, especially with that recent movie that they did of his, he finally started to get better at it. And he finally had his due. with the last movie, Hero, right? Dragon Ball Z Hero or something like that. But look how long it took him to come to that point. So that's just my opinion. But the video itself was very well done. Was very well done, and I appreciate it. But I also, but like I said, at the same time, there is a certain level of the fan base where you're getting too much in the weeds of things, and you're getting like so into all the minutia and the details. I'm just like, I guess I'm just not that. I'm just like, at the end of the day, I was like, honestly, I don't care anymore, But again, no offense to you or to anyone who loves all that stuff. It's just not for me, But I appreciated the video though. I watched it all the way through. So, let's see. AKB, what's up? AKB in the house. Actually, the New York City subway money train was a very well. I'm talking about now. Yeah, it's not. It was a thing back then. It really did travel. The entire system dropped off at 3 locations, but the service has been stopped for about a decade. New York City subway switched to using regular armored cars years ago, so the money train system was discontinued. For everyone who doesn't know, AKB, not only a great friend of mine, very close friend of mine, but he loves trains. So I'm not surprised he knows these facts. He also just knows a lot of information. So I love when he gets to drop these bits of knowledge there. But what I was referring to is that it doesn't exist now, today. I'm sure a lot of people will watch a movie like that now and say, oh, wow, they have trains with money in them. If he wouldn't be so cocky, I think he would whoop Ahsoka. Now, yes, if somehow he can kind of hone in on just focus at the task at hand, right? And be serious and not just get so carried away with like his legacy or what he's capable of doing, stop monologuing and all that, then he has a good shot at taking down Ahsoka. But yeah, that's always going to be his major downfall. Well, it was his downfall, and that's why he no longer exists, right? What's your favorite train? As far as New York City subway train or just train all over, like of all the trains that I've experienced. By the way, the trains in Germany are simple. I also found out that you don't have to necessarily pay because no one really checks your ticket. At least that was like a little tip that I learned when I was there. I think that overall, my favorite train system ever that I've personally experienced is the Japanese train system. It's always on time. It's always on schedule. Even though, and it's corporatized, right? So every line is owned by a corporation. That's why everything is clean. That's why everything is well kept. And yes, it sucks that it closes at midnight and you have to wait till the morning for the next train. But at least it gives them time to maintain the system while it's closed. And yes, you do have to pay depending on length and distance, but that makes sense to me. For some reason, after experiencing it, it makes sense. I think we could have learned a lot here in New York City from that system. And I think at this point, it's a little bit too late. And you can kind of see how the system is, in a way, deteriorating here in the city. So yeah. Star-Lord, sorry, I missed some of your chats. Screw it, put Wesley Snipes in Star Wars as a Darth with a badass mask. He would have a lightsaber always turned on and sheathed on his back. That's gonna be very sucky for his ass. And let's pray he doesn't fart, because if he does, then that thing is going to be nuts. AKB with more train knowledge. New York City, the new M9 is surprisingly technological for a commuter train. In the world, the Japanese Shinkansen, aka bullet train, just can't be beat for speed and comfort at that speed. Suck my totally. Do you know about the €9 ticket? I do not. What is that about? Tell me they should add the glass doors, the New York City subway, like they got at JFK in the air trains. That would be interesting if they do. My only concern would be how long could they maintain that without it breaking or getting damaged and all. Wasn't I think in some stations they've already tested out some of the barricades like they do in Japan, but it's done wrong. It's done incorrectly. I don't think they understand the concept of that. And it just looks again. I feel like they're trying. They're grasping at straws at this point, and they're trying to figure things out. And it's just a shit show. Plus, it doesn't help that whatchamacallit, that the MTA that runs the transit system is severely in debt. So I think at this point you might as well try to corporatize some of the lines to see if they could get a better result out of everything. Welcome to Train Talk. He wears Beskar armor, at least a Beskar sheath. Okay, I'll give you that. That could be interesting. It gets rid of trash in the tracks and stops from people falling in the tracks. Yeah, no, I could see the benefits for sure, Tommy. But again, I don't trust that the execution will be done correctly. Yeah, the MTA. Actually, let's look it up right now. New York City MTA debt. All right, this is as of, let's see. This is as of, hold on. As of last year, get ready for this. The MTA is $48 billion in debt. And it goes up every year. $48 billion. Do you think being that far in debt that they could ever do anything that will help move things along when it comes to the train system in New York? I highly doubt it. AKB, okay, I'm done being a rail fan now. Back to movies. No, I mean, again, it's a passion, and I love that your passion. I've always loved your passion about the trains. So yeah, love the knowledge drop. Yeah, see, don't get me started on New York City MTA debt. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. $48 billion freaking dollars. You know, we're here talking to, sometimes we talk about movies losing out on revenue at the box office. We're talking about maybe 40 million, 60 million. There was a report recently saying that the Fall Guy movie may end up losing their studio $65 million or something like that, which sucks because that movie was great. 48 billion freaking dollars, man. What the hell's wrong with these people? Anyway, the €9 ticket was big for a short period of time. You should watch the €9 ticket video from Jules. Islands were raided. They had goats on the train. Oh my God, sounds like mass hysteria.
Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
Trolling government officials. Jesus. Fall Guy studio may close even though the movie. Well, Fall Guy. Who put out Fall Guy? That was it Warner Brothers or Universal? I think. Or wait, who was the studio behind Fall Guy? Sorry, let me look it up real quick. The Fall Guy. Well, not the TV show. Stupids. I know about the TV show. Let's see. Fall Guy movie was released by Universal Pictures. So Universal's not going anywhere. They're going to be around. We already know that. But the Fall Guy didn't do well in the theater. It didn't. They actually considered it to be a flop. But whose fault is that? I thought the marketing was done properly. I think the fact that they released it on streaming 2 weeks after it was released in theaters was the problem. Germany for a short period of time was kind of like a 4chan room. Oh my gosh. What years were this? That's kind of crazy. Star-Lord, henceforth, he shall be known as Darth Sky Daywalker. The power of many ass whippings. Yeah, AKB 2 weeks. I don't know why they decided to do that, but yeah, once the movie was released, very soon after, it made aware to a lot of people that, hey, you could watch The Fall Guy on streaming in 2 weeks. And that's premium on demand. So you still had to pay for it, but think about it. Watching at the comfort of your home, paying $20 for a movie instead of going to the theater and paying, what, $40 for a couple to watch a movie nowadays? Kind of makes sense. And plus, it had great reviews. Critics and audience scores were pretty high on it. So, try to figure that out. Same as Furiosa. But the movie that's going to turn that around this weekend, right now, is Inside Out 2. And I think now is a perfect time to talk about this movie that I saw yesterday. The brand new movie that was released for this week. And I have a strong feeling that a lot of people are going to end up watching this movie in theaters. Before I get into that, he's half everything in all galaxies. Star-Lord still continuing his Wesley Snipes Blade story, which I love. Suck saying, do you think that in the future there will be a Sentry movie? Sentry as in the superhero from Marvel Comics. They were supposed to do it. I believe the actor who played, who's that? From The Walking Dead, Steven Yeun. He was supposed to be cast as Sentry. He left because of scheduling. They got a new guy in there. So I think you will see Sentry show up in the Marvel Universe sometime soon. AKB, that sounds like they cannibalized their theater profits for streaming, so how can they blame poor ticket theaters? Series? I know. It's ridiculous. It's insane. But I think the studio that's going to learn a little bit from that and do something a little different is once again Disney, because of Inside Out 2. So going into Inside Out 2, I'm going to make this nice little transition here because we are very much on topic. This is the first time that Disney is going to decide that they're going to let this simmer and stay in movie theaters for a longer period of time. They came out with a report, I believe a week or two ago, saying that Inside Out 2 is going to remain in theaters for 100 days straight. So the potential for seeing this on any streaming platform, whether it's premium or Disney Plus, earliest at most is maybe September, October, right? So you're going to go through the majority of the year without being able to stream this at home. I think they should market that more, honestly, if they want to kind of benefit from some of the box office profits, because I'm sure there's still going to be a lot of people who are going to expecting, oh, if I just wait a month or two, this is going to come out on streaming. But no, that's not the case with this movie. How did we get here for Inside Out 2? So the first Inside Out came out in 2015, right? And I would say this is still around the period where Pixar was still putting out very thought-provoking, well-done, well-written, well-directed movies that spoke to both adults and children, right? And then I think in recent years, we kind of saw them kind of fall off a little bit. But Inside Out did something that I thought was very creative and very brilliant. And that was they were able to visualize and dummy down the philosophies, ideologies, and concepts of how the inner brain works, right? And how it plays on emotions, especially for a young child. I believe Riley, we are introduced to Riley when she was first born, up until the age of 12 when the movie concludes at the end of it. And obviously, between the ages of 7 and 12, those are very formative years. And this movie was able to kind of explain the complex ideas of emotions and how not everything is always going to be black and white. The whole idea of the story was that, yes, there are some major emotions that people have, especially at that age. You have joy, you have fear, you have anger, and then you have disgust, right? And those are like the major emotions, or the range of emotions like a child can go through and all that. And joy is kind of like the leader of the brain, trying to like organize everything. And she sees things in a very bright sense. And obviously she wants Riley to have a happy childhood, a nice personality. They introduce a concept of personality islands, that kind of like form a person's personality, and it involves around like family, friendships, hobbies that you really like and that you're passionate about. So I'm pretty sure someone like AKB, he has a train island in his brain, right? So that's like one of his main passions that make up his personality, which is fantastic. And then also someone like Star-Lord, I'm sure he has something that's more of like a creative conceptual island, where he loves coming up with all of these really crazy stories, and he loves talking about them, and he'll kind of keep going on and on and on about that stuff, right? So, Riley is big into hockey, and she has a hockey island and all that. So what happens when a major event causes someone to question a lot of their stuff, right? And that's when the brain starts like freaking out. Everyone in there is freaking out, because now Riley is experiencing a major change. She had to move from her home to a brand new place, try to make new friends, and try to deal with all of that while still keeping a happy face. But obviously that's not always the case, right? So the whole idea was that certain emotions do mix together that could lead to a certain result. You could be sad, but that sad moment can lead into one of the happiest moments you'll ever experience. You could be happy, but at the same time, you could end up being sad because you are reminiscing about said moment, right? So you could share emotions together. And that was something that Joy had to learn and had to deal with in working with all the other emotions in Riley's brain. I love the idea and the concept of long-term memories that they kind of explained really well. And forgotten memories, and again, I rewatched Inside Out again this past week, and the thing that gets me every freaking damn time is Bing Bong. We've all grown up, we've all had an imaginary friend, and as time goes on and as we grow up, we forget about them. And the minute that Bing Bong disappears and gets left in the forgotten dump, and he kind of just like disappears and whisks away, oh my God! Damn you, Pixar, for pulling on my heartstrings like that, because all of us can experience and relate to those things. And that's another thing about this movie, Inside Out, is that it's relatable. All of us can relate to all the things that are being talked about, that are being explained, and all of that stuff. So that's why I thought Inside Out is probably one of their best movies that they've ever made. So it made sense for them to eventually make a sequel, because it was kind of teased at the end of Inside Out that the console was, kind of reconfigured, kind of refreshed, right? And they even mention it at the end of the movie. It's like, what's that red light? And the red light says puberty. And it's like, I don't know. So, and they're like, I guess it's not important right now. So, Inside Out 2 kind of explores now Riley officially becoming a teenager as she's turning 13, and she hits puberty. And as we all know, because again, we've all experienced it, we all know that once we hit our teen years, everything gets mixed up in here. And that is when a new set of emotions kind of get introduced into the brain of Riley, into the core group that we are all accustomed to. And that is anxiety, anxiety, envy, ennui, which is kind of like boredom, and embarrassment, right? And if you really think about it, this is an evolution of of emotions that we've already established in the brain. So in a way, if you look at it, this is like an evolution, because this, like some of those emotions can eventually lead to embarrassment or lead into anxiety, and whatever the case is. And I won't even get into like spoiler stuff just yet, but the same way I felt about Inside Out is the same way I feel about Inside Out 2. They were able to brilliantly explain, visualize, and dummy down for kids the idea and concepts of these new emotions that you could experience in your teenage years. How anxiety kind of plays a major part in our lives, even past our teen years, if you really think about it, right? And how that thought of, I'm going to high school now. I may lose some friends. What am I going to do about new friends? I don't want to be alone. And you start thinking about all these possibilities and how that could plague your mind and this and that, right? How, you're in an awkward state where things can embarrass you, or you find yourself changing, your body's changing, and you're wondering what's happening. And how you try your best, or your brain tries your best to kind of like put you all together and keep you calm, but that's not always going to be the case. And they were able to introduce so many different concepts, again, in this movie, that I think this is a must-watch movie, not only for kids, but for teenagers, for adults. It is one of the best movies you could probably ever watch that kind of tackles the idea of mental health, especially for a younger kid. Mental health is something that affects all of us. And it does start at a very young age. But I think a lot of people try not to think about that. They try not to acknowledge it, because I think the most common excuse is like, oh, it's just a kid. He'll work it out, or she'll work it out. She'll get past it. She'll figure things out. The best way is to kind of live through it, and then it turns you into who you are later on, which is all fine and good. But there is such a thing as mental health. And I think this movie, very much similarly like how the first movie does, is a great introduction on what that really means, and how if you don't keep these emotions in check, or if you don't really take the time to acknowledge certain things, that everything can go haywire, and you could lose control of not just your actions, but you could lose control of who you are as a person and your sense of self, right? And they explore all of these ideas and concepts in this movie. And yes, it's still a very entertaining and still a very fun movie to watch. But I will tell you, it got me in the emotions. It really did. Damn it, Pixar, you did it again. You found a way to kind of like tug at my heartstrings, make this movie very relatable and understanding, like in a way to understand it. And I remember calling back to certain situations that I experienced as a kid, leaving a group of friends to go find these new group of friends, and then just feeling and getting to, understand what that really means, and how that makes me look. How does it make me feel in myself? Is this really who I am? Am I trying to be someone that I'm not? We all have gone through these things. And man, this movie knew how to like really hone in on a lot of that stuff. And it was such a well done movie. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. I gave Inside Out, the first one, a 5 out of 5. This is 5 out of 5. Pixar, you're back. You're back. I want to see more movies like this. And I hope this is a good sign of more good Pixar stuff to come. But wow, it was so good to watch. I really, really enjoyed it. And I can't recommend this enough to anyone out there who's planning to see it or is on the fence of seeing it. Do yourself a favor, watch it. And if you have kids, my goodness, this is, I think at this point now, the first Inside Out and this movie should be must-see watches for kids, especially when they're going through what they're going through. So, woo, Tommy, not to drop this, but lost a friend. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Tommy. That really sucks. Wish as group we knew he was going through, but the stigma of not taking care of your mental health is going to therapy is absolutely. I can't agree enough with that. There's nothing wrong with seeking some sort of help, or at least acknowledging that there could be a problem there. I think acknowledgement is always the first step, right? But mental health is something that needs to be talked about more, because we all go through it, especially with what we just gone through in the last, 4 years now? we have to be more aware that this is affecting a lot of people out there. And it's something that I always like to talk about. I always like to address. I suffer from things from time to time, and I'll be very honest with a lot of you guys if that ever happens. Sometimes I don't stream because I just don't feel it. I don't have the mental capacity for it. I need a me day, and it sucks. I'm really sorry to hear about your friend, Tommy. That sucks, but it should be looked at more. It should be addressed more. And I think more people should try their best to get the help that they need if they know that there's a problem there. All right, let's see what else is in the chat here. What? Okay, I'm trying to catch up with Star-Lord's Wesley Snipes thing here. So he was created twice because his first form was too scary, so they aborted. I'm Tom Hanks from Castaway, making dozens of Wilsons. I lost a lot of blood and dizzy with stupidity. All right, one of Star-Lord's islands is shaped like Wilson from Castaway. I drink my coffee out of coconuts. Well, at least you have like a coconut flavor to them. So yeah. Is anyone here who's watching now planning on watching Inside Out 2 or may have already seen it? Let me know. And what were your thoughts on the first Inside Out? Very curious. But yeah, this is just... Now, going into this weekend, I think the original projection for this movie was around 50 to 60 million. Then it went up to 75 million. As of this morning, because of yesterday's box office ticket sales and attendance, they're now projecting 100 million. And this is domestic numbers now. So if that's the case, I think it would be safe to say that this would be the first major hit of the summer for this year. Because even though Bad Boys did okay, Bad Boys only did 56 million. If this gets out of the gate with an opening weekend of 100 million, boom, go for it. AKB, sorry, I missed your previous chat. Wow, surprised at the studio is going to commit to a 3-month theater run before streaming, the way it used to be. Yeah, and it's something that I've said for a long time. I think in order for studios to survive, they need to shake things up and they need to go back to the previous release windows. That's the only way. Plus, you need to help support the theater chains. They need to make as much money and to show your movies, right? So if you don't want them to go away, you got to find a way to help them out too. And by extending the release windows, that's the best way to go about it. I say go bold. 6 months, a year. Let's bring it back to that stuff. Why not? I would do it. If I ran a studio, I'll say fuck it. Balls to the wall. Come on, guys. We want to make we want to make a change. Let's go nuts. We're going back to a 6-month window. Let's go. 6-month window, and then really release it premium on demand for another 3 months before it hits any streaming service for free. Well, free. That's just me. But maybe at the end of the day, I'm not a good business guy. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Star-Lord, how can an island be shaped like a volleyball? You would slide off. Come on, you're not thinking big picture here. The overall shape is a volleyball, but you do have a little bit of island around. Just a little bit of island around. And the volleyball can be kind of like a mountain. It's like your major mountain. You can kind of climb it. So that's how I look at it. Or if you're going to say Wilson, as he was floating in the ocean, it's also going to be surrounded by a little water. Oh, there you go. AKB, sorry to hear that. Tell me, mental health. Yes, mental health is very important. Yeah, I truly think with Inside Out 2, the magic is definitely back with Pixar for this movie. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, But at least with this movie, it felt like old school Pixar. You know, they got another movie coming out. I don't know if it's coming out this year or next year, Elio, which is supposed to be a story about a kid who was chosen to be like Earth's representative to aliens. I don't know how that movie will do, but we'll see. Starler, but where would I go? You're nuts, man. Nowhere. That's the point. Stop it. Tommy can't wait to see it. Yeah. And I can't wait to hear other people's reactions to it too, because I'm sure there are certain moments within this that it's definitely going to hit home. And I'm going to go into some brief spoiler stuff. I'm not going to go into like exact like specifics, but I want to talk about some of the concepts that were introduced in this movie. You know, some new ones, because, you know, you're dealing with new emotions, right? You're dealing with new emotions and how it affects somebody. So if you don't want to hear any of this stuff, mute it or leave, come back later, bookmark it. You know, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that I'm going to be possibly spoiling some stuff for you guys. You've been warned. Viewer discretion is advised, as they would say. AKB, it felt like old school Pixar, done deal. Yep. And I will stand by that 1000%. So with the introduction of, again, it just shows you the creativity and smart ways of thinking behind the scenes when they come up with this stuff. Joy, right, who is like the leader, it starts the movie off where she created this thing where if she doesn't like the way a certain memory turns out, she kind of jettisons it to way back in the back of the brain, to an area where she calls suppressed memories. Think about that for a minute. Just think about that. So now you're in the movie where they're dealing about suppressed memories. They're talking, you're explaining this now to what? An 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, right? So she's like, you know, I don't really like the way this memory turned out, but you know what? We don't have to worry about it. This doesn't have to go into long-term memory. We could just deal with this later. So I created this thing. Boo! Look, it goes way back in the brain and we'll revisit it some other day. Like that. I was just like, how smart is that? That is a very thing that we do, right? Or that just kind of happens. So along with that, we also are introduced to now, not only are the islands in existence, but now we're getting to the point of a person's life where they start formulating their belief system, right? And how a lot of these things that we experience in life formulate what we believe in. You know, I'm a good person. I really love my parents. If it wasn't for my friends, you know, I wouldn't be feeling this way. You know, and it creates kind of like this kind of personality tree inside of Riley's brain and inside of everyone's brain, right? In this universe that they have, where all of these things that you believe in make you kind of another layer of who you become to be, right? Which is very fascinating. And of course, Joy is so focused on making Riley the best person Riley can ever be that she's handpicking only the good moments, right? Then here comes the new emotions, right? And immediately you can tell that anxiety and Joy was going to be butting heads, because Joy likes to focus on the current day now. What can make Riley feel good today? Anxiety is thinking about, well, what can Riley do to make her good today, tomorrow, next week, 2 months from now, a year later, all this stuff. So she is formulating all of these like possibilities and outcomes on certain actions, and she's trying so hard to prepare Riley for that. And of course, eventually it leads to the butting heads of the two, to the point where anxiety takes over and says, sorry, guys, Riley needs something more advanced now. She's getting older. So I think it's time to kind of bottle you up and put you away for a while. So now we're introducing the concept of bottled up emotions. You know, the whole saying is like, oh, my emotions are all bottled up, that eventually they're going to burst. So now, once again, we're introducing and explaining another way of looking at the person's brain. We are now introduced to the part of the brain where Riley keeps her secrets, which are done like a bank vault. So you have all these vaults with all of these different secrets that Riley has that she's trying to keep hidden. They end up going in there. You know, they meet some of her secrets. One is a kids show that secretly she still loves to watch. Another one is a crush on a video game character, voiced by Yanye. And if you watch the if you watch the Summer Game Festival, they did show that same clip of his voice and what he did in the movie. Right? And then there's a dark secret that Riley's keeping that's not really ready to be revealed just of yet. So the whole thing is that now the old emotions are trying to escape out of the secrets and try to find a way to get back into the home base and take over control of Riley's brain. Now, while all this is happening in her head, what is Riley experiencing in real life? Well, the whole thing is that Riley doing well in school, she's doing well at hockey. She has these two really great friends that she hangs out with that's also on the hockey team with her. They're invited to a summer camp, which is a hockey camp. And this is when they're transitioning from grade school to high school, right? And Riley is in the same thing, like, oh, I can't wait. If summer camp goes well, then we're going to be on this team and we're all going to be in the same school together. And then a bomb is dropped. And I love how they kind of introduce the whole concept of, wait a minute, something doesn't seem right. And disgust takes over. It's like, wait a minute. Her reaction was weird. She's frowning. Why is she frowning? Right? She's hiding something from me. And then you go into the girl's brain, the friend's brain. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Riley's face is changing. She knows we're hiding something. You know, it's so funny. It's hilarious. And then the second friend in the middle, she's like all freaking out. She's like, oh no, something's going on. She may know this. She may know that. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Ah! Fear spills his tea. He's like, oh no, he spilled the tea. And that's when she blurts out the secret. And it turns out, again, very funny stuff, brilliant writing, finds out that the two friends are changing schools because they were kind of moved to a different team. So you're introducing the concept that when you move from grade school to high school, you may not necessarily go with your same friends. And this scares Riley. And this is kind of what starts the whole thing. Plus, bam, she's hitting puberty. She wakes up one morning and she hit puberty, right? So you have all of the, the alarm bell goes off, that light finally lights up, and that's when the new emotions come in. You have the construction workers in her brain busting down the headquarters, restructuring it, putting in a new console and all this stuff, right? So now you have all of these things going on with her, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And now she's dealing with the fact that, well, if my friends are going to be around when I go to high school next year, I don't want to be alone. So what do? I guess I got to make new friends. Oh my God, here's the star lead. Here's the star player of this hockey team that I love. I guess, let me see if I could try to be friends with her. And that's kind of like the struggle now going on. Riley is dealing with the fact that maybe it's time to just move on. Maybe let me see if I can make new friends, ditch my old friends, because they're ditching me anyway, right? And that's pretty much where all of this stuff goes on during this 2-week period while they're at hockey camp. Seriously, though, I will get someone to watch that movie today. Which movie? Castaway? Star-Lord? What's going on, Arnold? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. What are you hoping fits? My shirt? I think my shirt fits pretty well. But nice to see you. How was your week? I hope you're having a good. You had a good week, and you're having a good Friday. And you're about to have a good weekend. Right now, we're talking about Inside Out 2. Kind of spoiler stuff, but if you don't mind that stuff, then I'm just talking about the new concepts that are introduced in this movie. You know, joy, disgust, fear, and embarrassment are now experiencing in their head as they're racing to the back of the brain because anxiety ripped the tree out, the personality tree, jettisoned it all the way to the back of the brain to the suppressed memory section, and is trying to form a new tree, but a tree that is based mainly on anxiety's actions, right? So we get treated to, and they find themselves approaching what they call, oh, look, it's the stream of consciousness. And it's like whenever Riley is going through multiple things she's thinking about, her, what she wants to do right now, now that's a big obstacle for them to have to go through. Brilliant idea. Then the stream of conscience is disrupted because Riley learned the art of sarcasm. So what happens in the brain? A major chasm forms. And it's like, oh no, I've heard of this. It's the sarcasm. Get it? But smart. It's so smart how they did it. And how the stream is being interrupted by sarcasm. And the idea of sarcasm is now being introduced to the whole thing. What's going on, Goals? How are you doing? Or should I call you Jester? Just curious what you like to go by. Arnold, yes, everything was perfect. Got an Xbox. Nice. Playing Forza Horizon. That's a great game, man. Forza Horizon 5 is really good. Really, really good. Jester's just fine. You got it, man. Hope you're doing well today. Hope you had a great week. Horizon 5 is a fun game. I played around with that game for a little bit, and that's awesome. It's awesome that you have an Xbox. What other games are you trying to play now that you have an Xbox? Jester, yesterday I saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Nice. What did you think of it? Let me know what you thought of it. I loved it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought in a Caesar-less time, now that that story of Caesar's gone, I liked what they did here. And I am curious as to where we're going to go with this new group here, since it takes place so far in the future. And the whole idea about the humans, not really being as dumb, or at least there's a sector of humans that are so good. So, yeah. So sarcasm, going back to the Inside Out 2 conversation. Oh, first of all, Jester, it was good. I thought the pacing was a little bit off, but I give it an 8 out of 10. Nice. Yeah, I will agree that maybe there were some moments where the pacing was just kind of awkward, right? Or maybe they lingered on too long here, not enough time here. But I agree. Overall, I think it was just an enjoyable movie. So, yeah, that's great. I'm glad you liked it. Are you planning to watch any movies this weekend? If you're planning to watch Inside Out 2, I hope I'm not going to spoil it for you. But I'm not trying to reveal too many of the details. I'm just trying to talk more about the concepts being introduced. So with anxiety controlling so much of what's going on in Riley's head right now, we're getting introduced to the stream of conscience, sarcasm, the emotions. Find out that anxiety is employing a lot of people within Riley's brain to formulate the outcomes of possibilities of her actions. So you have, and this is really hilarious and very meta, a room filled of animators who are drawing outcomes of possibilities of what can happen. And of course, all of them are very negative, right? So of course, Joy comes in, tries to pick things up, try to make it more positive and all that stuff. Eventually, the group makes it to the back of the brain, and of course, they're trying to figure out how to make it back to headquarters with the personality tree. But it's already gotten to the point where anxiety has just ruined everything. Like everything is just going wrong. Riley is so hell bent on making the team because she really wants to fit in. She really wants to be part of this new group. She doesn't want to be alone going into high school, and she's trying so hard to impress everybody. She finds out that the coach has this book. She finds out that it sounds like she may not make the cut. So she takes it upon herself to be an overachiever, even though it may sacrifice how she looks to other people, how it looks to her older friends. And she is just losing control. And you could tell she's losing control. And anxiety is just, whatever she's trying to do, it's not working out. It's just not. And the new personality tree that's forming in Riley's brain is getting messed up to the point where the old tree that Joy helped formulate basically gave the belief that Riley was a good person. Now what's coming out is that Riley has the belief that I'm not good enough. And no matter what, these guys are trying to do, Riley just doesn't feel like she's ever going to be good enough. And it's causing everything to break down in front of her. And this is the one moment that totally gutted me in this movie. During a hockey match, and one of like the last matches of the camp, which is going to help determine where she lands on the team and all that. She is trying her best to score every goal. She's stealing the puck from other players. She's not passing when she should because she's out there to prove that she's worthy. And she accidentally smashes into an opposing player because she's so hell-bent and focused on scoring this goal. She didn't even realize she's totally demolished her own friend, her like very old school friend. And she gets put into the penalty box, right? Doesn't even apologize. She just goes there upset, angry, frustrated. And while she's there, she's hyperventilating. She's freaking out. She has an anxiety attack. And you could see anxiety is going nuts, trying to figure out what's wrong. That she goes flash speed, where she's trying to, react to this and react to that and fix this and fix that. That all of a sudden, no other emotions matter anymore. And everything is just, she goes into this state of motion where she's like circling the control board at hypersonic speed and no one can touch her. And at the same time, Joy and the rest of the old crew found a way to get back to headquarters with the old personality tree. But everything that was in the suppressed memories had to go with them, because that was the only way to get there, was to overflood that section so that everything can spill over. They could ride the wave and go into the thing. So now what happens? You have all your suppressed memories, or all of Riley's suppressed memories, flooding into her belief system. And that's why she's flipping out. She's suffering an anxiety attack. And I don't know if you've ever had a panic attack or an anxiety attack. It's not the best thing ever at all. It sucks. And to see a 13-year-old go through it was just heartbreaking. And she finally realized to calm down. She's breathing. Her friends show up to find out if she's okay. And they finally were able to get anxiety under control. Anxiety apologizes to Joy, said, I'm sorry. I thought I knew what Riley wanted, but it doesn't matter what I think. Riley has to make that choice. And Joy realizes too that suppressing certain memories is not a good thing, because who you are and your belief system comes from everything that you experience. So at the end of the day, when all of those suppressed memories flood into her belief system, it formed this brand new tree, a more complex tree. That, yes, certain days I feel like I'm a good person. But other days, I feel like maybe I'm not good enough. But you know what? My friends will always be there for me. I love my family. It's like all of these things worked in conjunction with each other, forming different branches. Mind blown. And yeah, the movie ends in a way that is just kind of sweet and endearing. And everyone is working together nicely and in unison. And Riley is now living on with her teen life. And it's just wow. Wow, wow, wow. Powerful, powerful movie. And you could see me talking about it because it's just so impactful. You know, I wish I was able to watch something like this when I was a teenager, because I felt like a lot of things that I experienced is just we had nothing to explain to us what was going on or what I thought about or what I'm going through. You know, we didn't really have anything. And I feel like kids today, even adults, to be honest with you, they need something like this. They need to realize what they could be going through. They need to realize how to hone in on certain things. Relax. Take a step back. You know? So, yeah. Very, very well done movie. And I'll stop it with the spoilers for now on that. So, yeah. Can't recommend this movie enough. All right, sorry. Went off on a major rant there. Let me go back to the chats. I hope everyone's still around. Arnold, what did you think of the last Star Wars episode? I liked it. My stream on Wednesday, we talked about it. I really enjoyed that episode. I like, again, the exploration of different ways people use the Force. I also feel like we didn't get to see the full idea of what's happening there. We got a little idea of what's going on and what caused the issue on that planet, but I think there's something definitely more in there. But I liked the episode. I did. Jester, I feel they killed off Orangutan a little too early, but yeah, Monday I'm seeing Inside Out too. All right, Jester, if you're still here, again, I hope I didn't spoil anything for you, but if you're still watching, I appreciate that. Also, again, if you're watching live here, hit that like button. Would really greatly appreciate it. I would really, really love that if you did that. But yeah. Star-Lord, Rambo that. Rambo. Kind of crazy that they made a Rambo cartoon in the 80s, right? A movie that is very violent that they thought would make a good cartoon for kids. And toys. I remember buying a Rambo toy set, which is basically a replica plastic knife, a replica gun, like a legit replica gun. It was like a freaking Desert Eagle. And the 80s was crazy. Jester, yes, they did. If you look it up on YouTube, I'm sure you'll be able to see clips of it. But they made a Rambo cartoon for kids. They also made a Chuck Norris cartoon, which I thought was pretty funny too. Star-Lord said he just needed episode 3 to explain to him more of it because I was really confused at first. And that's about the events that happened on that village that kind of split the sisters apart, caused there to be, I guess, to also kind of explain the motivation behind May's anger towards those Jedi involved. But I do think we only got a portion of that story. I'm pretty sure there's more to be revealed. And I do think the Jedi are involved. Yes, I love the Karate Kid cartoon. Aw, that was a cute one. I like that one. And the Mr. T one. The Mr. T and the gymnastics team that he was with. A pity a fool don't eat my cereal. But yeah, Rambo was definitely one of the most bizarre ones. That thing. Oh, that and Police Academy. Who thought that would be a brilliant cartoon for kids? A raunchy comedy movie series. And they said, let's make that into a kids cartoon? Wow. Who remembers Police Academy? Please tell me you remember that cartoon. Holy moly, what were they thinking back then? Unreal. Unreal. And no, Tony Hawk nor David Spade was in the Police Academy cartoon. So nice little throwback to our previous Police Academy conversation. Right. Before I get into my discussion and review of the Watchers, I'm just going to check my phone real quick. So, always like to check the phone just to make sure the world around us isn't exploding. So, for that, here's some phone checking music. All right. Thank you for bearing with me as I do that. Arnold. I'm glad you're still here, Arnold. If I could wish for an old series back, I would be very happy about a new season of Gravity Falls. I think you and a lot of people. Now, I've never seen that show at all. It looks intriguing to me. I've never had a chance to see it, but I know there was a major fan base for that series. And I know when it got canceled, it created a huge uproar. So, yeah. Star-Lord react to the David Spade and Tony Hawk scene. Yeah. One day. That could be a good idea. That'll just be funny. It'll be funny if I can just react to silly scenes from movies. And then maybe you see just a compilation of all my reactions to all these silly scenes. Jester, what is my favorite Star Wars movie? So my favorite Star Wars movie of all time is Empire Strikes Back. For me, it had everything that I personally like in a story. You had some up times, you had some bad times, you had challenges, you had doubts, major reveal that was a surprise, right? That you weren't expecting. You have hope, and then you have, kind of maybe not so hopeful stuff. It ends on a down note. For me, it's just like a perfectly well-crafted movie from beginning to end. So I will say that will always be my all-time favorite Star Wars movie. Second will probably be, it's too easy to say the first one, like the original Episode 4. Return of the Jedi was okay, but I would say, at least for me personally, what just happened? Did the stream just black out? Am I okay? My preview screen just went black for a minute. Let me know if I'm still okay. And let me know if, like, audio-wise, I'm still okay, too. My second would probably be Rogue One. I really, really like Rogue One. Arnold saying the stream's okay? All right, cool. Yeah, that was just weird. It's just all good, Star-Lord? Okay, cool. Yeah, it was just weird because, like, all of a sudden my screen blacked out. So I was just like, huh? What happened? What about you, Jester? What's your favorite Star Wars movie? Everyone chime in. What's your favorite Star Wars movie? Go. I'll give a moment because I know there's always a delay. The FBI is here. Uh-oh. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop.
I'm gonna come.
Oh, sorry. Jester, a Police Academy reboot would be insane. It would be. I don't think that type of comedy works anymore. Because they kind of had something similar, I guess, in the modern time now, is Super Troopers, right? Wasn't Super Troopers kind of like a comedic take on a police force? So, although someone like me would love seeing something like that, I don't think that would do well today. Arnold, the 2 Star Wars movie. Which one are you referring to, Arnold? Star-Lord likes The Force Awakens. So, Star-Lord, for you, is that your favorite Star Wars movie of all time? Jester said his favorite or their favorite is Return. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with Return of the Jedi. Like I said, for me, it just wasn't, it wasn't a favorite of mine because I did feel like at this point, it did get kind of more kiddie in a way. And I know Star Wars has always been for kids. I totally agree and all that. But for what happened in two was so mature and so kind of uh, depressing in a way, dark, and then going into a very hopeful, a very kind of like light version of Star Wars threw me off a little bit. But there are a lot of people out there who love Return of the Jedi and who would say Return is their favorite. So nothing wrong with that. Clone Wars. Or the Attack of the Clones, right? So that is the second prequel movie. That's your favorite, Arnold? For Star-Lord, The Force Awakens got him invested in everything Star Wars. Oh, look at that. Interesting. That's really interesting to find out. I will say this, there was something very magical about watching The Force Awakens because it had all those nostalgic feels of the original movies for me. And it did leave me hopeful that we were going to get something special with this new trilogy. Unfortunately, if you watch it today, it's very interesting to see everything that they tried to establish in that movie and to see all of that get ignored in the second movie and then in the last movie. It's so bananas when you watch it now. It's like, what happened? Speaking of nostalgia, one other thing about Inside Out 2 is like, I love they introduced the idea of nostalgia. And the running joke was, Riley's only 13. Your nostalgia is showing up way too early. We still need another 10 years, several weddings, and a reunion for you to come back. So I thought that was really hilarious. And I think they showed that in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything there. Sword saying it was the most hype I've seen next to Marvel Phase 3. Yeah. Oh my God. You had grown adult men crying when they debuted that trailer for the Force Awakens. Heck, even I was crying. I remember like watching the trailer on the big screen in a movie theater, and I was just like getting all emotional and choked up. I was like, oh my God, are we actually getting this? Are we getting the Star Wars we were hoping for? And at first we all thought we were. And we all know what happened after that, right? They tried. Well, I don't know how hard they tried, but they did something. They did something. Now, out of new Star Wars, what about what's everyone's favorite Star Wars show so far? Gesture, a Police Academy reboot would be awesome, though. I don't disagree. I think it would be kind of hilarious for them to try to do a Police Academy style of movie now today. But I don't know. I just feel like that type of comedy just doesn't work. So it started strong, and I'll always give it that. Oh yeah, for sure. It started real strong. With anything JJ does, it always starts off strong. And then you kind of wonder what happens afterwards. It's like he blows his load all in the beginning. And he just fizzles. What's going on, Scorched? Oh, you're talking about Andor. Yeah, Andor is a fantastic show. That's probably my favorite as of right now. As of right now. Andor is fantastic. It shows you what good writing and good directing can do for a series, right? Very, very much like the first two seasons of Mandalorian. I thought they were written very well and directed very well. And then 3, well, I don't want to talk about what they did with 3. I shared all those thoughts about it for a long time. The whole Raylo thing was something I'm not too interested in. Yeah, that was kind of weird. It was hard to figure out. Were they trying to be sexual? Were they trying to be something? I don't know. Were we just reading too much into it? Who knows? Jester doesn't really watch the shows. You might actually be doing yourself a favor. I will say that. Scorch actually liked Book of Boba Fett. Good for you, man. So what? You like what you like. Good for you. I wanted to like Book of Boba Fett. I really did. But I think it messed it up for me because I was really hoping for them to come up with this real, like, underground crime syndicate, almost mafia-like story. And we didn't get that. So I was a little disappointed about that. Plus, in my own opinion, I thought Boba just wasn't Boba Fett. Like, he was, you know, he was supposed to be, like, ruthless and killing people. And he was trying so hard to be, like, diplomatic. It was Finnick who was the one that was doing all the Boba-like stuff. So, I don't know. There were some parts of it I liked, and then there were a lot of it. I think the things I hated outweighed the things I liked in that show. So I found it to be very disappointing at the end of it all. Scorch, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Acolyte I didn't watch. Scorch, did you ever watch Rebels or Clone Wars? Because if you did, then if you were curious about any of those shows, I would highly recommend Ahsoka. So it was obvious from the start that they were both love interests. I guess? I don't know. I also thought the love interest was supposed to be Rey and Finn. So I don't know. I've only been waiting for one thing for years, and that's on Mace Windu. It would be nice if we got something Mace Windu related. Sam Jackson's getting a little too old, so I don't know if we'll ever have a chance for that, but that would be nice. Again, it's the introduction of characters I wish they had time to develop more and we learned more about. At least in live action. Yes, I understand they dive deeper into like the Clone Wars, like in the Clone Wars, but you know, not everyone watches those cartoons, so. So I was saying, regardless, it was good to see a new story. Absolutely. Scorch watched a bit of the Clone Wars. Mace Windu is super duper dope. He survived the fall. You think so? I know like that's a big topic of conversation for a lot of people. Jester, I saw Kenobi, but the only thing I really liked was the fight with Kenobi against Vader. Yeah, Kenobi was a weird one too. Like, I think I understood what they were trying to do. I love the actress who played Leia, young Leia, because she really kind of embodied Leia's personality Yeah, I hate the fact that she was getting a lot of hate online. And if you watch her now, like when she goes to conventions and stuff, I love the way she talks about Star Wars and how she talks about her character. She's so smart. But the show overall just felt messy. Yesterday, stabbed someone with a lightsaber and let them survive in his show about. Yeah. Well, that's like the running joke right now with Star Wars is like how many people have been stabbed with a saber and how, for whatever reason, they survive now. That's like the big running joke, isn't it? There's like memes about it. It's crazy. It's kind of silly. I did like Ahsoka. Yeah, I liked Ahsoka a lot. Well, hold on. Let me rephrase that. I liked Ahsoka for the most part. There are some bits of it that I found to be a little disappointing. Some ways they handled certain characters to be very weak. But I also love Thrawn. I think Thrawn is one of those like bad guys in Star Wars that is worthy of being someone to fear. And I really, really wish they expand more on his storyline because there's just something about that character ever since the old Timothy Zahn books that I love so much. And so yeah, so if I were to rate, if I were to give it like a Letterboxd rating, Ahsoka, I'll probably give it like a 4 out of 5. Andor is a 5 out of 5, hands down. I like Ahsoka just for the actress. Hey, look, Rosario Dawson is pleasant on the eyes. I'm more of a fan of the actress Natasha Liu Berdozo, who played what's her name? What's the character's name? My God, why can't I think of her name? Someone help me out. Who did she play? Scorch is not a fan of the Filoni stuff. That's fine. You don't have to be. Jester saying glad that Hayden Christensen is back doing. I am too, and I love the fan reception he gets now. Well, long time deserved, honestly. People forget how young a lot of these actors and actresses were when the prequels were done. They were still trying to figure things out. Scorch, I agree, she is a babe. Rosario is pretty damn cute. But like I said, I'm more of a Tasha Liu Berdozo, who played, what did she play? I'll look it up. Sabine. Duh. Oh. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who played Hera? Come on. There's a reason why those memes are spreading all over the place. I am jealous of you and McGregor. I say we got a big upgrade. We sure have. Princess Leia being sexually assaulted as a nun. What? Oh! Are you talking about... Are you referring to when she was captured in episode 4? Scorch, I tried... Jester. I tried watching the Clone Wars show, but it just moves really slow. Yeah, the Clone Wars show is... There's a lot of seasons, and it does move in a weird pace. But that's also because the way that they did the episodes is that they jumped around a lot. Tried to start rewatching it until I ran out of time. The episodes in chronological order of the actual events happening, and I felt it was moving a little bit better. But I totally know where you're coming from, and I totally agree. Star Wars Legends is really good. Is there a season 2 of that? Star Wars Legends. It's a kids show. Star Wars Legends. Which one is that one? Let me see. I'll look it up. Have you noticed the thing about Jerry West yet? Oh, that he passed away? You're talking about the basketball icon, right? I don't think I know what this Star Wars Legends show is. Are you talking about maybe the Tales shows, like Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Sith that came out recently? Controversial opinion. I don't really like the animation style. I is that really controversial? I mean, I can understand that. That style is not for everybody. At first, I felt the same way too, and then I guess I kind of just, accepted it. No, Jason Mewes did that. Oh, you're. I see what you're talking about. Yeah, the anime. Oh, Visions. You talk about Star Wars Visions. Yeah, Visions is fantastic. Visions is great. I saw season 1. I haven't seen season 2 yet, but I love like those little anthology episodes that it doesn't have to tie into anything. It just is a Star Wars like story, right? Yeah, I love that. Arnold, big basketball fan. Yeah, it's sad. It's always sad when you see like a legend like that pass away. I mean, he is the logo, right? He is the logo of the NBA. So yeah, that was it's we're getting to that point where a lot of these like people we grew up idolizing, watching, that they are starting to go, and that's always a sad thing. George Lucas must have been rolling from that. Suddenly he snapped and stopped caring. You're not wrong. Star Wars will always have a special place in my heart, but I'm so sick of this shit. That's why I sold it to Disney. I can't take it anymore. I just can't. No, fuck the fan base. Fuck everyone. Oh, now everyone loves the prequels. Oh, where were you back then when I was making it? Oh, everyone could just fuck off. Thanks, George. Sorry, we rattled George out of his bed. Got him really angry. Visions is not really like what if. Visions is uh just stories told within the Star Wars type of landscape, right? It's different takes. So it's like if people decide to create their own Star Wars story like that, but this is done in animation form. So the first season explored a lot of Japanese animators and animation groups, some very famous ones. Like they're responsible for series like Trigun and all that. And they do their own take on Star Wars. And they just tell stories within that type of universe, within that type of storytelling. Season 2, they had different other production houses, a lot of South American production houses, and they told their own Star Wars like stories. So it's following the same concepts and ideas of Star Wars, but telling it in a very one shot like story. And the animation is done brilliantly. The stories are really cute for the most part. and it's done really well. So if you want something that's Star Wars but not tied to Star Wars, I highly recommend you check out Visions. Visions is very well done. Scorch, the other show I mentioned was the Tales series. So they did Tales of the Jedi, which I forget how many episodes. I think it was 6 episodes. 3 episodes dedicated to the telling of who is that? Of Count Dooku, and kind of like how he became who he became. Justice for Yaddle, I will always say that, and a very young Ahsoka. And then Tales of the Sith told the background story of the Magistrate from The Mandalorian, who is like the Night Sister witch, and this very out of nowhere character who is associated with one of the Jedis that we've seen in the prequels, and how she became a Sith and then eventually broke away from it, and kind of the struggle there. So very, very interesting stories. Arnold, for you, it's very bad with wrestling. All the stars I grew up with are dead or shortly before. Yeah. Especially like a lot of the wrestlers from like the 80s and 90s era. Man, I mean, it sucks because it's hard. That business, you don't really take so good care of yourself sometimes, especially if you're not with the major companies like WWE. So it is always sad to see them get old. Yes, sir, but Star Wars What If would go hard. I would love a Star Wars What If show. I think that would be brilliant, you know? What if Luke went further to the dark side instead of light? Because we saw him toy around with both, right? So what if he did that? You know? What if Princess Leia was never captured? What if Han, what if they never freed Han, right? Or something like that. Yeah, there's so many different things that you can kind of play with that realm. I love what if stories. Bad Batch is fantastic. I liked the Bad Batch for a while. And then after a while, I kind of lost interest, but I plan to go back and watch it. Because they just ended, right? Their run with the last season. Scorch, which show are you talking about? Animated? The Tales show? The Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Sith is animated too. Iron Claw was indeed very heartbreaking, especially if you know the actual story of that family. They decided to leave some other details. Like there was another brother that was way young that also passed away, who took his own life. But yeah, very tragic. Very tragic. I was really hoping that Zac Efron was going to get considered for some sort of award, like at least a nomination, because I thought he did a brilliant job. All of the guys did a brilliant job. That is such a great movie to watch. Fan or not a fan of the wrestling, it's a very heartbreaking story. Scorch the Tales one. Yeah, the Tales series is all animated. Jester, what if Anakin killed Obi-Wan? What if Vader didn't die in Return of the Jedi? What if Qui-Gon didn't die? What if Mace Windu defeated Palpatine? All great concepts. I agree. I'm with you on all of that. I think a what if situation should have been, but they already did it in Book of Boba Fett, and it was okay. Like what if Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit? But we already saw that happen. What if the Death Star backfired and blew themselves up? That's a great one. Because it's the first time with that type of technology, right? What if the first test didn't work out and Alderaan, instead of Alderaan exploding, the Death Star exploded? But then Princess Leia would be on the Death Star, and so would Moff Tarkin and Vader. So you just fucked up the whole story. Luke would have never known that he had a sister. because they would have never met. Vader would be gone, or at the very least, floating around in space. Jester, why did autocorrect? I know, autocorrect is funny, but I knew what you were talking about. I knew you weren't trying to get political up on here. What if Vader is a woman? Wow. What if, yeah, what if the chosen one was a female, right? That would be kind of weird. So what, Leia can fly in space? She didn't fly, she used the Force. I know what you mean, though. What if Padme hadn't lost the will to live? Yeah, like what if she gave birth and survived the birth, right? Would her still being alive force Anakin to try to be a better person and not turn to the dark side, right? That would be interesting. Love this conversation. I love how we just got into like heavy nerd Star Wars talk. Let's go. Yeah, Jester, that was pretty well. I would say that was just dumb writing. That is just dumb writing. It's like, I've lost my will to live. Also, how did you know their names immediately as soon as you gave birth to them? Look, you have a daughter, Leia. Look, you have a son, Luke. Just really bad writing. I think, Arnold, what you just said right there, what if Jar Jar Binks is a Sith? I think that's one story that a lot of people would love to see. Well, wasn't that like one of the rumors for a while that they were going to say that Jar Jar turned into a Sith at one point? Scorch, thanks for the info on Visions. Season 2, really appreciate that. Yeah, definitely have to check it out. The Vision stuff is fantastic. I love what they did with that. I hope they do more. I would love to see Visions season 3. What if the clones rebelled against Palpatine? Ooh, could you imagine that? Scorch, I watched episode 1 of Boys season 3. It was so heavy-handed with politics. I think that's the point. I think that's what they're trying to go with. You know, because that's pretty much how season 2 ended, right? They were politicizing Homelander, right? And it speaks very close to what we're experiencing here in the United States. So I'm pretty sure that was all on purpose. Arnold saying it would have been so perfect because nobody expected it. Yep. Yeah, because Jar Jar was always like this comical guy and all that. But then he did end up becoming a senator. So he did find a way to kind of be more serious. But it would be like interesting to see what if he turned into a Sith. Does Jar Jar even have Force powers? Maybe he does, right? The only season of Boys I like is the first one. Oh, you didn't like the second one, Scorched? I like the second one. The thing is, the second one was so long ago, I feel like I forgot most of it. Jar Jar as a speeder mechanic for a whole season just getting hurt all the time. That's gonna be Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie. It's gonna be about Jar Jar Binks as a speeder mechanic, and all he does is get hurt throughout the entire movie. Yeah, and cursing with grease all over his face. Bantapudu! What if Obi-Wan had listened to Dooku in episode 2? Ooh. That's a good one. That's a very good one. Or what's a better one, and this is from Tales of the Jedi, what if Qui-Gon followed Dooku? Right? What if would that happen? That would have been fantastic. When I hear the boys, I just think about the octopus. That's a good one. Everyone, Sikea, I believe that's how you pronounce it, wants me to do a backflip. Why? Plus, does it look like I have room to do a backflip here? This is not gymnastics hour, but I do appreciate the comment. Thank you. Jester, what is your favorite Star Wars character? Mine is Dooku. Star Wars character, God, that's difficult. That's really, really difficult. Only season 1 was the main quest, killing Homelander. Everything else felt like a side quest after that. And with the release of spin-off, it's even more meandering. I don't disagree. I never even watched... What was the spin-off called again? V8 or something? I don't know. I didn't even have a chance to watch it. What if Qui-Gon had bought Anakin's mother too? Oh, yeah. What if he was able to rescue both Anakin and the mom? Or what if Qui-Gon chose the mom instead of Anakin? Hey, in space can get lonely. Star-Lord saying the Force will guide your backflip. Sure. Here I go. What would be when Ahsoka got together with Anakin? Well, that's kind of a weird one. I don't think there was ever like a romantic relationship there or a bond there. Star-Lord 7. For $1 million, would you turn your camera on and do a backflip on the train tracks? No. I value my life too much. Because remember, I'm on the 12th floor. Jester, do you believe in the theory that Palpatine impregnated Anakin's mother? No. I won't say I believe that. But with what they're kind of doing in the Acolyte now, I am curious as to how they're going to spin the whole birthing of the Force, like Children of the Force. I am very curious about that. But no, I don't believe that Palpatine impregnated Anakin's mom. Scorch wants to know what my ethnicity is. Are you Filipino? I am part Filipino. So that's a very good quest. I am Filipino, Spanish, Chinese, and French. I am a mutt, as they say in dog terms. What would General Grievous have teamed up with Obi-Wan? Ooh. That's fascinating. Huh. Yeah, that would be an interesting story to tell. Jester with the funny line right here. Never thought in a billion years that all the powers of the Jedi force fucking would be one.
I'm gonna come.
Oh man, that is pretty damn funny. How about get on top of a train riding it while doing George Lucas impressions? Look at me, I'm on a train. Oh my god, look at me, I'm on a train. Does George ever get excited? I feel like he's always so calm, right? I don't think he ever gets excited. That's the most of his the height of his excitement. Oh no, this is just too funny. All right, let me get back on track. I do have 2 more movies I would love to talk about here. but definitely love the Star Wars conversation. Again, if you want more Star Wars conversations, definitely tune in on Wednesdays. I'm reviewing all the episodes of The Acolyte every Wednesday. Did I say Wednesday or Tuesday? Wednesday. Wednesdays, I usually go live around 12 noon Eastern time here. And I always talk about and review the latest Acolyte show. I've been doing it already now for 2 weeks. So definitely great place to talk about Star Wars there. Did you hear about the new Rey movie? Yes, I did. And I don't know why, one, two, how, and three, does anyone care? I think most people probably don't. I love Daisy Ridley. I think she's a great actress. I do think she gets a bum rap for those movies. But I feel like we're done with the whole Rey story. Or maybe we're not. I'm just speaking for myself personally. Maybe we're not done with it, right? So I think, if people want a movie like that, then why not? But I think it's kind of weird. I think it's kind of weird to kind of go back to all of that. He chuckles, Star-Lord. I'm on a train. What do I think happened if... Who's Savas Opress? Who's that? Jester, what do you think of the Rey movie? Is that something you would like to see or no? I'm just wondering, who would be interested in seeing a movie like that? I mean, if there's interest, it's great, but it is kind of weird. Savage Opress. Oh, wait, is that Savage Opress? Is that from Solo? Am I thinking about the person from Solo? Jester, no, not in a billion years. Yeah, I know. It is kind of weird to kind of go back to that But if they have an interesting and intriguing story to tell, I'm open to it. But I would think that this is not your route you would take as far as the movies are concerned. What I want to see is Patty Jenkins's movie. I want to see a Rogue Squadron movie. I want to see Top Gun in space. That's what I want to see. That would be brilliant. I don't know if I want to see another Rey movie or a movie with Rey in it. At least that wouldn't be my first choice. Savage. I got the need for light speed. Let's go. Savage is it darts? Oh, okay. From the Clone Wars. I see. Yeah, unfortunately I didn't watch all of the Clone Wars, so that's probably why I don't know who you're talking about. All right. Let me start talking about this other movie that I had a chance to watch yesterday, and that is The Watchers. So again, love the Star Wars conversation, y'all. Really do. Really love it. If you want to keep going, by all means, please. So The Watchers. This was a movie that I was pretty much looking forward to because I thought it was interesting that M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, Ishana Shyamalan, is directing. She's going to do her own movies and all that. Still under the M. Night banner because it is produced by her father. So I'm curious. I was curious. Saw the first trailer. I said, oh, this looks intriguing. Looks interesting. Definitely feels like a Shyamalan type movie, right? So I thought, let me try and give it a shot. Now, I didn't have a chance to see it since it came out only until yesterday. Just scheduling, conflict, and everything like that. What's going on, Plague? Thoughts on time travel? I'll be very brief here because I still want to talk about this movie. I think time travel as a concept is very like, interesting and possible. If it does exist now, there is a reason why we don't know about it. I'm sure that the government or whatever the case is keeping it a secret if it is true, because in the wrong hands, that will be a major problem. But science wise and concept wise, I do feel like it is a possibility, but I don't know if we are at that point where we could actually fully realize it yet. Arnold didn't see the movie yet. Scorch, I'm pretty sure she directed a bunch of servants. Oh, the TV show that he had? Probably. I didn't even have a chance to see that show yet. So if that's the case, then I would love to go and check those episodes out. Because I'll say this, all right. As a first-time director for a film, Plague, thank you. Thank you for liking the hat. This is one of my favorite hats. It is from a minor league team in baseball here in New York, Staten Island. It's only such a brief time that they supported this type of logo because they went by the name of Pizza Rats for a while, which is a joke about something that happened in New York. So you have the slice of pizza in the middle of making the Y. So one of my favorite hats. So thank you. Which is one of my all-time favorite. Oh, you like Servant? Oh, I need to check it out. Such a good show. Shame the movie sucked. So let me get to that. So as a director, I could see that she definitely has a very similar eye to her dad. I noticed that there were a lot of shots and framing that reminded me of a lot of Shyamalan movies. She's definitely very creative and has an interesting eye when it comes to shooting a film. A little bit of the editing was very interesting and all that. What about I could spoil the film? Okay, Arnold, I will do that. And there's definitely some things that she picked up from her dad, which is great. The overall flow of the story, I did feel was the weakest part of it. Going into this, I wasn't sure if you should think of this as a horror film. If anything, it's more of like a fantasy thriller type of film. There wasn't anything that was really truly scary about the movie. But there were some creepy moments of it. The concept of the movie is this. This is the whole idea of the movie. And again, who I thought is still a great actress. I think she did a pretty decent job. You have Dakota Fanning, who is someone who is struggling with herself personally. She had a traumatic moment in her life where her mom passed away. At the beginning of the movie, we don't know why that is, but we learn to find out exactly why that is. And there is a certain parallel that happens here, right? So because of this traumatic experience, in a way to make her feel different or whatever, she loves to go out and play dress up, as she calls it. She disguises herself as someone else. She goes to bars and she talks to random strangers and all that stuff like that. Not being herself and kind of being like, somebody different. She works for a pet shop. She needs to deliver a bird to a client or a customer. She finds herself in the forest. This forest is kind of mysterious. She finds herself getting lost in it. And she comes across this group of people who are bunkered up in this little kind of like makeshift cabin with a window. And the whole thing is that there is a fear that there are these creatures in the forest that will kill you at night, but they love to observe these people in this house. And as long as you behave and as long as you are there to put on a show, they are entertained and they love to observe these individuals. But a lot of these individuals have been there for a very long time. And of course, the whole thing leads to them wanting to try to escape and get back to reality and maybe tell people, hey, these are these weird creatures in the forest, blah, 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 this and that. And like with any Shyamalan type movie, there is a twist in it. The twist here, well, there's several twists, right? Okay. First twist is that, and I think a lot of people going into this will think that these creatures are vampires. They're not. They're fairies. And this plays on the whole story that fairies can be evil if they are grown to be that way. And the fairies, what they're trying to do is that, or what they like to do, is they like to mimic humans because at the end of the day, they want to become us. And when they turn into us, in a way, they wipe out the alternate version of who they want to be, like that. And at one point in history, humans and fairies had a very nice existence. Something happened, there was a conflict, humans and fairies had a battle, or they had something against each other, and now the fairies were kind of treated badly and were imprisoned, and they were kind of imprisoned in this forest. Yes, kind of like a skinwalker. And I think they're referred to as changelings, skinwalkers. They have multiple names, but at the end of the day, they're fairies, right? And there was this doctor, professor, teacher, whatever, who wanted to study these fairies. Because way back in the day, they were imprisoned in this, thing, and they roam around here. Scorch, yes, Shyamalan does love fantasy. Oh my God, Lady in the Water, yeah, that was, whew. So I guess you could kind of say this falls along that same lines, right? So there's a doctor who was studying. He's the one who was responsible for building this building, this little cabin. It had an underground version of it, which none of them knew about, right? That they found out. Once they found out that there was like an underneath thing, like an observation office, they saw like videos that he recorded himself with the diaries and documenting it all and all that stuff. And they found out that he was there to study them, to try to see if there was a way that he can get them to, be on the same sides as us, or just, try to figure out how they work. So that was the first twist that, okay, they're fairies. So this is a different take on the whole fairy kind of story and all that. The next twist that happens here is that when they do find a way to get out and they escape the forest and they get back to reality, one of the things that the professor said is that if once you get back to the school, go back, look at my studies, look at all my stuff, so that you understand what's happening here in case I die. So Dakota Fanning's character goes to the school, finds all the study of the professor, and comes across a very important piece of evidence. It turns out that one of the individuals that was trapped in that cabin, the older lady, was in a relationship with the professor. Ooh, but guess what? She passed away many years ago. So why is she still here? Bum, bum, bum. She's one of them. A fairy was able to escape the forest thanks to the works of Dakota Fanning and the rest of the crew, right? But how does she survive being in the daylight? Because the fairies only can roam around at night. They can't be out in the daylight. Oh, she must be a hybrid. Because when the fairies and the humans were still good together, they got busy, apparently. And they did the dirty deed. And they formulated hybrid fairies that had human capabilities. So some of them could potentially survive out in the daylight. Oh, but she's mad, extremely mad, because her and her kind have been imprisoned for centuries. So she wants to get back at these humans. Right? So that's a big twist. Another twist in here is also Dakota Fanning. Her character. Turns out her mom died in a car wreck. And she has a sister who's a twin sister. And for the longest time, her character felt she was responsible for the death of her mom. And she went through most of her life feeling that way. Hence why she always tries to be somebody else, because she hates who she is. She hates that she is responsible for the death of her mom. And when she was confronting the fairy at the end of it, she was trying to utilize her own life experience and letting the fairy know that I'm like you. I try to be somebody else, because I hate who I turn to be. You guys try to mimic us because you hate how we treated you. So you want to take over because you hated how we treated you guys. But that's not the way to go. You could be your own individual person. Learn from these mistakes and be better. You are free now. So you could live a life different from all of us. And basically, she's like, okay. And she flies away. No, I'm simplifying it. It doesn't really work that way. But in a way, it kind of felt like she was like, you're right. Bye. And then it turns out that Dakota Fanning's sister is an exact twin. So Dakota Fanning ends up playing two characters at the end of the movie when she finally revisits her sister after a long absence and learns to deal with the fact that she's not responsible for the mom's death. And there's a nice little reunion. The two Dakotas meeting with each other and sharing their lives, whatever, in harmony, blah, blah, blah. I just gave you the whole movie right there. That's it. And it was interesting. Now, also, during, my movie theater experience, when they found out that there was a bunker underneath their cabin, and they go in and they unravel that this professor was talking about his experiences and what he's doing, that's when I had to go to the bathroom. Because I had an emergency, because I didn't eat all day, and all I was eating was popcorn and soda, and my stomach was like, F you, I'm going to make you pay. So I was gone for like 10, 15 minutes. Vacating, dropping the kids off at school. When I came back, obviously I left during a very important plot point. I didn't really miss much of anything. I was able to figure it out still. So it kind of shows you the type of movie this is. I think Ishana's writing is not her strong suit, to be honest. And of course the question is, well, how did the fairy get in the cabin and be like us? Well, it turns out, or at least the idea is that the professor was kept one of the fairies locked up to study them even more. And I think the professor was very lonely because he was no longer with this lady. So eventually the fairy turned into the lady to kind of be like a companion, and then he died eventually, and then she just stayed there for whatever reason. Look, it's not a great movie. It's a big swing. A big swing and a miss. Sorry, I missed some chats. Scorch, Arnold, whoever I want to watch fantasy, then I'll look at politicians. Very funny. Scorched Even Village sounds familiar. Escaping a Forest, yes. Scorched Even sounds like Midsommar with the dead mother and trying to go to a forest to get away. Yes. It does sound like a little bit of things that we've seen before, right? And honestly, it also felt like watching a very bad episode of The Twilight Zone. If you ever watched any of the Twilight Zone shows, there are episodes that are awesome. And then there are just some episodes that are like, that wasn't so good, right? This felt like watching a very bad episode of a Twilight Zone series. The twists didn't hit as impactful as they probably should have. The pacing was kind of weird, kind of messy. I wasn't scared at all. They tried to kind of scare you here and there with like jump scares, like forced jump scares. Didn't work for me. And I just think at the end of the day, it was just a very weak story. Just very weak. Interesting idea, interesting concept, but I think the execution was just not done correctly. Um, I don't know what could have changed it, right? Honestly, but I think for a debut film like this is just not a good. This was just not a good film for her to debut with, and it's kind of a shame because, like I said, there are elements in her directing that is decent, and I could see that there's something there. So obviously, I would like to see more of her directing. I would love to see what she tries to follow up with after this. But this is definitely one of those movies that I probably would have preferred watching at home, if I'm to be completely honest. There's no reason to go in the theater and watch this. So at the end of the day, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. Not strong, interesting, concept wise, interesting, but very poor execution at the end of the day. So that's just my thoughts on it. And that is The Watchers for you. Did anyone here see Watchers? I'm just curious. Have you seen M. Night's The Visit? That is the one M. Night movie. I'm sorry. That is the third M. Night movie that I didn't see yet. I didn't get a chance to see The Visit. I heard it's pretty decent. I never saw that movie he did with Will Smith and his son because I just hated that idea and I just refused to see it. And I never saw his Avatar because it just looked bad. So those are the 3 M. Night movies that I never saw. What's going on, Lil Sa? How's it going, man? How's your week? Did you get the results of your exams yet? Let us know. Arnold, have you seen the Grimm series? I have not. I know of it, but I've never watched it. How is it? Did you watch it? Did you like it? What's The Visit Late at Night Alone? Okay, that's definitely in my queue of things I definitely want to check out because I did hear because like M. Night definitely had like a period where everything was just like what's happening, like what's going on here, and then I heard The Visit was like the start of him getting back to things. So I am curious to kind of see what happened there. Star-Lord, whatever that was, I had stared down with. I don't know. Oh, I seriously thought I saw a fairy once. It's like something flew right in front of my face and just stayed there looking at me with curiosity and swiftly flew away. Is that for real? Also, Starlight said, I like the Twilight Zone. Still holds up. I do too. I love watching the Twilight Zone. But, there are some episodes that are just like, meh. Love the episode where the world was ending because Earth is getting too close to the sun. Twist is it was a dream and the Earth is really moving away from the sun. Oh, I remember that one. I like that. I like that one. That was a good one. My all-time favorite is the glasses. The guy who he loves reading and then the Earth came to an end and he's like, oh, I can finally read now. And then his glasses break. Oh no, what am I going to do? I love that. There's just something so great about that. Sword said, yes, that was for real. Well, there you go, Scorched. It is spooky. Very, very spooky. By the way, in case you don't know, Star-Lord is in the horizontal traditional stream. So if you're wondering who I'm talking to with each one, that's what's happening here. And just a reminder in case you didn't know. Not yet. Lil Sa didn't get his exam results yet. But you'll let me know when you do. All right, awesome. Looking forward to it. Have you seen the trailer for Longlegs? Yes, I have. I saw it for the first time during yesterday's screening when I watched Watchers yesterday. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. That looks like that's going to be an interesting one. Plus, it's Nicolas Cage. Come on. How can you not like Nicolas Cage? Oh, why do I still have spoilers up here? Sorry, guys. Nothing to be spoiled just yet. Arnold loved the series Grimm. Okay, cool. You'll have to drop the kids off at school. That's exactly, yeah, like exactly what happened to me yesterday. Little Sa, he's actually referring to a story that happened to me yesterday. So my funny story is that while I was watching The Watchers yesterday, which was the second of 3 movies I saw in the theater yesterday, I had to go to the bathroom really badly. um, and I had to drop the kids off. So that's basically what he's referring to. Starts saying that his experience, like whatever he saw, seemed really intelligent. Like instantly, I thought that wasn't a bug. Ooh, that is really spooky, man. Really spooky. Gesture, the choice of not showing Nicolas Cage and only using his graspy voice. I agree. I agree. I love how they're keeping whoever he is or what character he is a mystery. I love that. I think a lot of people are really looking forward to watching that movie. And their marketing has been really brilliant. Like releasing all these like little vignettes or little teases of what could be happening. I love it. It's so smart. Arnold's asking if I'm superstitious. Um, hmm. I think, yeah. Yeah, I think I can be superstitious to a certain point. Not overly superstitious, but I have moments where like I won't do something because I'm afraid it may disrupt something or um what is the biggest thing that I do when that involves superstition? I try not to go to bed angry. That's one thing. When it's New Year's, I always try to clean up my house because I always believe that when New Year's comes around, the old dust is supposed to be removed to make room for the new dust to come in and settle in. Does that make sense? That's like a weird superstition. I think I got that from an ex of mine. Scorch saying everyone in the chat should share if they have paranormal stories along with me. Okay, I'll think about it. I think, have I had any? I don't know. Gesture, the choice of making his killer like the Zodiac is really good. I agree. I agree. Oh, Lil Saw's leaving. All right, Lil Saw. Hope to see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your, I believe, evening. And if I don't see you, have a wonderful weekend. Starlord saying it was dark in my room and I was sitting in front of a computer on a sofa. And that's when the thing flew in front of your face? That's weird, man. I don't know if I've ever had a supernatural experience. I'm just trying to think now. I guess the one thing that I've experienced, which is kind of still baffling to me, is that where I live right now, there are certain times throughout the night, and it doesn't happen every night, but there's a loud hum that happens out in the atmosphere outside. And yes, I do live near train tracks. You could see it. I've shown it on stream before, but there are no trains that are coming by during that time. I don't really live next to any major depots or anything. It's just a weird hum that happens in the atmosphere. And I tried looking up in the sky during those moments, and I don't see anything in the sky. I don't see anything flying around. So I always find that to be kind of weird. I think if you're familiar with what is it? The channel Watcher, those two guys, Ryan and Shane. I think they talked about in one of their shows, whether it was when they were with BuzzFeed or on their own, about weird humming noises that plagued a certain area. I guess it's something similar to that. I don't know. Starlord saying the wings had a gust of air. Also said he's seen so many things in the course of the entire 2000s to now. Oh wow, you sound like you're a magnet for this type of stuff. Let's see. Arnold saying his mom once experienced something paranormal. Okay. Gesture, I used to live in a really old house and we never went in the attic and we could see through the boards into the attic and the lights in the attic would just turn on Yet no one went up there. Ooh, that is creepy. What's going on, Ravi? Did you enjoy Inside Out 2? I did. I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. I think it is, if not the same level, maybe even better than the original one. And I think it does a really good job at explaining the new set of emotions, and what goes through the mind of a teenager, and definitely tackles some mental health issues as well. So I think it was brilliantly done, well written, well directed, well performed. Overall, I really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it to a lot of people. Jester, once I saw a pale girl in my hallway. Wow, at my old house playing with dolls. She looked like my sister, but something was off. I got up to go see her, but she was gone and my sister was in my parents' bed. Woo! Wow. Ravi, who was your favorite new character? Mine was Lance. Lance was my favorite new character. I think my favorite new character in Inside Out would be... That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know who my new favorite character is. I like them all, to be honest with you. I kind of like Boredom. I kind of like how he kind of turned out to be at the end. His kind of like journey throughout it all. I liked how they displayed Boredom. So I'm assuming you saw it. Who expected the emotions to be saved by a freaking cartoon? That was actually pretty funny. Good old Pouchy. Jester's house was built in 1908. Yeah, that is really creepy, Jester. Where, if you don't mind me asking, where do you live? What, if you're in the States, what state? Or if I were alone in the house and someone says my voice, I'll jump out the window. I'll probably do the same thing like you. I'll jump onto the train tracks and then I'll hop on a train and pretend I'm George Lucas. See, in comedy we call that we circled back. It's a throwback. Star said I was a magnet. I've seen angels, I've seen demons, I've seen aliens. Interdimensional, to be specific. Star-Lord has seen everything, everybody. Star-Lord is a major magnet. Ravi, what would you rate Inside Out 2? Let me know. In my apartment building, someone went missing, possibly murdered. I have to cross his door every time I go upstairs. Ooh, now that's spooky. Oh, Jester's in Georgia. House burnt down mysteriously when we were at our grandparents' house a few years back. Ooh, I feel like Georgia is probably like one of those like states that has the potential for a lot of like spooky areas or spooky houses, because you're getting to that part of the South that is very, sometimes can be very mystical. Like, for example, Star-Lord here appears to be a major magnet and he's in Louisiana. You know, so in New York, we don't really get to see a lot of that stuff, but there are parts in Queens where I'm in where I've been to a house where I heard that there was a witch who lived there, and literally scattered all around the house are like these like little artifacts, heads of dolls, everything that's just like hanging around. I don't know if it's still there, but there are definitely creepy places around, and yeah, it's really nuts. Arnold quickly erased his German message. I was about to read the whole thing because I was fascinated. I was trying to practice my German. I know a lot about esoteric New Age stuff. Do you now? Star-Lord. Wow. I'm learning so much about Star-Lord today. That's amazing. Jester, they say it burnt down because lightning struck it right down the middle, but it sounds too good to be true. I feel like the universe was trying to say something, if you ask me. No need to apologize, Arnold. I know it's always very difficult to, if you're so used to speaking in a certain language, to try to translate it for us. So I will say that I do appreciate you trying to communicate that way, even though that may not be your first language. So I do totally appreciate it. I know it's not easy. Scorch saying Star-Lord sounds like a bit of a mad lad. You're not wrong. He is kind of mad. He's definitely a lad. Star-Lord saying, I could tell you a lot about higher multidimensional templates. Up to 15D. 15D? In a row?
I'm gonna come.
I don't know if anyone got that reference. I think we're learning Star-Lord's other personality island, and that is the supernatural and multidimensional. Star-Lord, I'm curious, did you ever like the X-Files show? So I actually know what you mean by like 15D. I know there's multiple dimensions, but I don't know like the specific details. I just know that that's kind of how you would explain it, right? Star is not an X-Files fan. That's unfortunate. Arnold, I understand everything you say. Only when I write, I sometimes have to use a translator. Okay. Well, again, I appreciate the effort. I really do. I know it's not easy. I have a lot of friends who, when the English is not their first language. So the best way I heard them describe it to me was that when they try to communicate, they think about what they want to say in their language, and then they literally have to translate it before it comes out of their mouth. That's difficult, man. It's not easy. And I was never good with languages, so I know how hard it can be. So I always appreciate the effort. A neighbor just moved into the murder dude's house. Oh, no. Yeah, if I were you, at least just kind of give him a heads up. Hey, like, hey, by the way, you do know that, or you should have been told. Scorched, where are you from? If you don't mind me asking. You don't have to be specific, just wondering where you're at. Oh, India. In Bangalore. Oh, okay. Oh, it's like really, wow, it's like really early in the morning for you guys. It's always hard for me to understand like time differences. The bewitching hour. Um, I don't have a soundbite for that. Sorry. Oh, Arno, that's so nice of you to say. Thank you. I really, really, really appreciate it. Starla, they wanted me to ask you, what is it about 3:33 at night? Is there something about that? Oh, I didn't realize Starlord is going on explaining the multiple dimensions. So we currently are in the 1D, 2D, 3D personality matrix. Then there's 4, 5, 6D, which is considered to be the soul matrix. Then there's 7, 8, and 9, which is the oversoul matrix, quote, Gaian matrix. And then 10, 11, and 12 is the silicate matrix. It's the aspect of your future self. And then I think we're going to be followed up by 13, 14, and 15 because he says he knows up to 15. Here we go. 13, 14, and 15 dimensions are Emerald Sun, which is the founder consciousness. Consciousness. So there you go. We just got knowledge dropped about all the dimensions of existence, the planes of dimensions, multidimensional templates. I want to welcome you to Multidimensional Talk. I'm your host, Renee Zalata, LOWKEY GEEK, and here we are explaining the multiple dimensions. Are you a fan of the paranormal? Who are you going to call?
Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
Do you hear strange sounds in the night? Jester, there's a house in my neighborhood that we think is haunted. We looked inside at night and saw a person, but their head was a pyramid. And they stood next to a grandfather clock. I think you just saw a member of the Illuminati. Just saying. Sounds very Illuminati-like. Oh, wait a minute. 333, according to Star-Lord, is numerology or angel number synchronicity. Synchronicity, that's a great Police album. Jester, the old owner was an old couple. The husband died and the wife gave the house to her daughter and moved to Florida. Her daughter has been collecting stuff from the house. Ooh. In small portions, she doesn't live there, but she also won't sell it. Once you saw the pyramid head, we trespass and put a... Oh, you put a salt line on every window seal? Oh, so you went an extra step there. Scorch wants to know about the bewitching hour, Star-Lord. You have anything to share on that? Started saying that when you see 333 and you acknowledge it, perhaps means you are on the right path, Scorched. So maybe that's for you. It's kind of like, I guess in a way, it's kind of like when you see 1111, right? They made a reference to that in Us. And if you happen to see a pattern of that happening all the time, then I think that's what Star-Lord is alluding to. Like, why is it sometimes when you look at your clock, it's 1111 or 333? That could mean that maybe you're on a certain path, or whatever you're thinking of doing is probably correct, right? Arnold say he hates it when it's Friday the 13th. So would you say like that's a major superstition of yours? That when it's Friday the 13th, you, let's say you decide not to do anything? Stay home, stay out of trouble. I'm kind of with you on that. Not just because of me, but because of other people. I feel like anytime it's Friday the 13th, I try not to be out so much because God knows what other people are going to do. And when it's a full moon, you will notice that when it's a full moon, there are people who act really weird out there. According to Star-Lord, there's no witching hour unless you are a witch. Which witch are you? I'm just messing around. I'm just having fun, guys. Don't be mad at me. See, so Star-Lord doesn't manifest. So I guess it's a different way of the way you look at things. It's intention set out to manifest. Star-Lord is more of a natural. He doesn't manifest. So there you go. Oh, Scorch said, funny enough, I am a witch. There you go. Arnold saying, bro, imagine 333, Friday the 13th. I'm dead. That's it. Game over. Just game over. Just end it. Robbie, oh, Pouchy. If you see Inside Out 2, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. Jester saying, before they put the salt line up, they got an old alarm clock. The bell once outside of the house and set it to 3:33 a.m. We sat outside and waited. Fell asleep at 3:13. We woke at 4 o'clock. And at 4 and the clock was smashed. Who smashed the clock? Gesture, we don't know. Damn. That's crazy. Arnold saying, have you ever noticed how the animals are on it during the film? Oh yeah. That's like major breeding time for them, isn't it? Of course, saying, bro, this chat has so many mystical people. I know. It's pretty insane. I love it. I love that. I get this is what you call true diversity. Starlight saying, I know a little about the evil eye that is a belief in the Indian culture. Just saying we came back a week later and the salt line had a print on it we weren't able to recognize. Now that's spooky. That's pretty damn spooky. Oh man, love the mystical talk. Love it. I love how these conversations have gone all over the place. You know, we talk about movies, we talked about trains, we talked about Star Wars. Now we're talking about paranormal, mysticism, all the D's. All the D's. It's crazy. It's crazy. Scorch saying evil eye in India is such a funny practice. People put a fake mole with blank ink on it on the newborns. So what's the concept behind that? Because I don't know what that is. Maybe you could help explain it to me. Star also wants to assure us that he likes living a normal life. So, Arnold, you can absolutely ask me a personal question. Nothing wrong with that. Gesture means that this was no paranormal. This was normal, but some type of transformed normal. Ooh, transformed normal. They also put up a demon head on each and every building you see. That's, yeah. It sounds very cultish, in my opinion. Is it fair to say that? Sard, what do you think about what Scorch is saying when it's referring the? I'm sorry. What are we calling it? The evil eye? Is that it? Jester, love chatting, but I gotta go. Jester, appreciate you stopping by. Love the conversation. Love everything. Hope to see you again, but enjoy the rest of your day. Seriously, it was a pleasure having you here. I don't go live every day. I go live normally during the week. It's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And on occasion, I may go live on a weekend, but I don't really, it depends. So, but those are the days I usually go live. So but I always update the channel, meaning I post a post on the channel if a schedule changes or whatever the case is. So, Arnold, how was it actually for you personally back when 9/11 here in Germany? It's only on TV. It's difficult to imagine what it should be like to be there. Um, yeah, that was it was a weird day for me, honestly. It's all kind of surreal to be honest. Not to get so deep into it, but I have the view of the skyline, so it was kind of weird to wake up. I woke up to my girlfriend at the time calling me, telling me I shouldn't go to work. And I said, why? And then she said, put on the news. And that's when I was seeing what was happening on TV. And then when I look out the window, I see it also happening outside in real life. So, yeah, it was weird. It was sad, unfortunate. I remember just to try to deal with it, I tried to meet up with friends who lived locally to me. And I remember we went to a restaurant, like one of those chain restaurants, TGI Fridays. We sat down and we honestly didn't know what to say to each other. We just had no clue. Like, we didn't know what to say. We didn't even really enjoy our food. We just wanted to be around people we knew. And we kind of just said, this isn't working out. Like, why are we here? Let's just go home. So we went to one of my friend's house and we just watched the news. And it's also bizarre because you could smell the smoke. I live in Queens, which is still a distance away from Manhattan, but all the smoke carried over. And it was just very, very bizarre. Such a weird, weird feeling. Um, so, yeah. And it led to a weird week where I was just stuck watching the news almost 24/7. And I could say, like, I definitely got into a weird state of depression during that time. Um, but yeah, it was just weird. What made it even weirder is that whenever I would travel, for example, I remember me and my ex, we went to Disney World. And, whenever you go to Disney, they always ask, where are you visiting from? And I said, oh, we're visiting from New York. Immediately, the conversation changed to, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad about what happened there. I hope you're okay, this and that. And it was like kind of weird because, you go to Disney to kind of forget things. And in that one brief moment, it just kind of honed in on, oh yeah, people know about everything here. So yeah, it was just weird. Just very weird. Score saying basically, if you have anything too nice, you got to put a mole or something ugly on it. Weird. People don't covet it. That's so weird. What's going on, Bailey? I haven't seen you here in a while. Have you heard a story coming out from Miami? No, I haven't. What's happening in Miami? Starlord saying, evil eye is red. It's a manifested affliction from a man's jealousy. If people compliment you and someone else, it's so jealous, they give you the evil eye and brings bad fortune. Think of it like Sith Dark Force users, and you are the peaceful Jedi pulled into darkness. Man, this is some crazy stuff. And there's a blue eye called Nazar. It's a defense. It's a defense against the red eye. Look, the only red eye I know is, the plane that you take overnight when you're traveling from California to New York or vice versa. Yeah, I know. I live in Queens. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, hold on. Let me see. Is my thing still running? Oh, that's weird. My outside camera kind of died out. But oh, maybe you could still see it. Let me see if I could share this with you. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you could still see. It's a still shot. That's basically the view outside my window. So you could imagine I was still living in this place when 9/11 happened. So you could imagine that I could see everything from outside. Are you the neighbor of King of Queens? I've never even watched that show, to be honest with you. I love the fact that you know that show too. That's awesome. Scorch saying you see a lot of people with the Nazar eye chain or bracelet. I guess they're all trying to fend off the other people, huh? Kevin James Guy and his wife was hot. Who, Lee Remedy? The former Scientologist? Yeah, she used to be in Scientology and she escaped. And now all she does is she dedicates herself to podcasts talking about the evils behind Scientology. And they all hate her, meaning Scientologists. They're trying to shut her up every chance they can. I'm saying you watched the show twice. And still, the fact that you still know that show is amazing. I love it. Star chiming in, the third eye is the sixth chakra. See, now I know chakra from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, right? She's like the only celeb I've seen who left who speaks out. Yep. And good for her. Good for her. I honestly thought one day we were going to hear that she was killed, but I'm glad that she's still around. I was saying, as I said, I just love America. I don't know why, but this country just attracts me. Well, that's nice. I think we all kind of have that, you know. Like for me, I would say that Japan is like my favorite country. I love Japan. You know, there's just something about a place, right? Scorch saying, I am too an average American enjoyer. Well, I love to hear that, guys. I really do. America's not a great place right now, if I'm to be honest with you, with all the politics and crap we have to deal with. So it's nice to hear that there's people who still appreciate, I guess, America stuff. Sometimes it's kind of hard to you know be so proud of a country when you have so much problems having that are here. Score saying, I'd like to stay in New York rather than Tokyo. Why is that? I'm just curious. Kevin Davis back here with another knowledge drop, another stats drop, I should say. Inside Out 2 domestic box office debut prediction 100 to 130 million. Well, they're saying that as of this morning. They changed the prediction from 70 million to 100 million. So I'm not going to be surprised if it hits 100 million based off of the type of reaction that I'm seeing it's getting, and I think it's well deserved. Well deserved. Scorch saying the food and the culture. New York does have a lot of great food. I will say that for sure. And ethnicities. There's so many different cultures here. It's crazy. That's one of the great things about New York, is that we're such a diverse city. Arnold's uncle lives in America. He's in the army. And you've heard about the negative sides enough? Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like that goes with any country, right? There's always going to be positives and negatives, but you'll never really truly know unless you spend a lot of time there. So, Score saying, I feel like you got to speak Japanese to really get the most out of even a big city like Tokyo. Yes and no. I feel like they are getting better with that stuff. They try, But I feel like if you knew how to conduct yourself or where to go, things to look out for, I think you could enjoy the city a lot. I thought the same way too, but when I first visited, God, it feels like 15 years ago, I think, the first time I went there, I managed pretty well for myself. All right, guys, there is one more movie I do want to talk about. I love the conversation that we're having here, but there's still yet one more movie that I would love to talk about that I saw yesterday. It's another brand new movie that just came out, and the movie is Tuesday. It is a brand new movie from A24, and this was not a movie that was on my radar at all. It wasn't on my radar at all. I saw it when I got to the theater because the other movie I wanted to see was no longer showing, and that was it was another horror movie. I forgot the name of it, but it's a movie that puts you like in the point, kind of the mindset of the killer, point of view of the killer, which is an interesting concept. But I think it's coming out soon on streaming, so I guess I'm just gonna check it out then. So Tuesday stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who plays a mom to a daughter who's is referred to as Tuesday, right? We'll just say that. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure I don't miss any of the chats. Arnold, every country has its advantages and disadvantages. The most important thing is that we all keep people together no matter what's. You are singing the praises of the gospel. I'm not a religious person, really, but you are saying everything that I believe in too. So I totally agree. Elaine was so hot in Seinfeld. You know, I never watched Seinfeld. Being a New Yorker, I've never watched it. Kevin Davis with another stat. Despicable Me 4 will make more money than Kung Fu Panda. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. Scorch, Loki, has you seen the new slasher that's from the killer? That's the movie I wanted to see last night. But my theater stopped showing it yesterday. And I was a little disappointed, but I guess I'm going to watch it separately when it comes out on streaming. And instead I watched this movie Tuesday. Was The Watchers A24? I don't think it was. I think The Watchers was, I can look it up right now. The Watchers. Hold on. Come on now. Give me studio information, guys. All I want to know is the studio. Studio. Whoa, whoa. Dun, 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 dun. I'll sail away. Yeah. Warner Brothers. The Watchers is Warner Brothers. And I believe that's also the same studio that M. Night does movies for. So at the same time, I'm not surprised that she was able to get the same distribution deal, being that she's the daughter. Arnold, I'm going to sleep now. Wish you a lot of fun until the closest time. Take care. May the force be with you. Arnold, may the force be with you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Loved having you here. Hope you have a good night, good sleep. Have a good weekend. I'm not planning on streaming this weekend, just a heads up. But if I do, it will be Sunday. But I probably won't be back on until Monday. So I hope to catch you again next week. But have a good night, Arnold. So yeah, so Tuesday, let me explain the concept behind Tuesday. So Tuesday is a girl who is suffering from some sort of disability. They don't exactly go into what it is that she has, but she has problems breathing. She is semi-paralyzed. She walks around in a wheel. She goes around in a wheelchair. She's bedridden most of the time. And we get introduced to her because death is taking form of a macaw, a bird. And the movie begins with an introduction to this bird. And we learn right away that this is death because whenever someone's suffering, the bird puts them to sleep and then they pass away. When he hears this girl suffering, death visits her. She decides to be friends with death. Like, hold on, before you take me away, you know, would you mind if we wait until my mom gets home? Because I want to at least say goodbye. Death was very hesitant, but there's something special about Tuesday that allowed Death to be able to be there and not be so inundated with voices in his head of all the suffering around the world. So it's almost as if they appreciate each other's company, right? Now, separately, you have the mom, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Zora, who cannot seem to cope with the fact that her own daughter is suffering the way she is. She is outside, buying her time until she gets home. When she does get home, she doesn't really want to spend time with her because she doesn't want to be reminded that her daughter is currently suffering right now. So when she comes home and finally sits down, the daughter explains that I'm dying tonight. Death is here. You should speak to him. He appears. And of course, she freaks out, right? So the rest of the movie is basically these two trying to fend off death for as long as possible. And the consequences that come after that, right? What I'll say is that it's kind of weird to be watching a movie like this. And one of the reasons why I compare it to a movie like Lamb is because it's so strange when you're literally watching a movie where you're having a conversation between this girl played by Lola Pettigrew, the actress, and a CG bird. And they're just having conversations with each other. There's a certain point in the movie where they're listening to music. And they play like Ice Cube songs because she's big into hip hop. And you're seeing this bird like really digging into the song and say, hey, I like this. I know this song. And they're singing the song together. It's so bizarre. It really is truly bizarre. But as the movie progresses, you start to see what else the story is trying to tell you. And there's two stories here. One is it kind of shows you the importance of death in reality. Because an interesting thing that happens here in the movie is since Death is spending all day with this girl, just waiting for the mom to get home, death doesn't exist in the world. So you have people who are suffering that can't die, right? You have people who are losing limbs. You have flies flying all over the place because isn't like the lifespan of a fly extremely short? But when flies can't die, now you're just inundated with endless amounts of flies all over the place, right? So it's an interesting story when you think about it. Like, what happens in a world where death doesn't exist, right? And they show you not everything, but they just basically will give you like little hints of, well, here's a guy who lost his legs and he's suffering and he's scrolling around the streets asking for help. He can't die, right? The other side of the thing is, how far would you go as an individual to keep someone alive for your own selfish reasons? And that is the character of Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Zora. And what she is experiencing is, for her own selfish needs, she doesn't want her daughter to pass away. Because without her daughter, she doesn't know who she is. And if the tables are flipped, how would you react if you knew that your daughter was suffering? And it would probably be better for her to end the suffering and have her pass away instead of fighting for her to stay alive. And that is the journey that the mom and the daughter go through for the remainder of the film. And what turned into a strange movie turned into something that was very thought-provoking, very emotional. There's one moment at the end where Julia's character just it becomes the most honest with her daughter, the most honest she's ever been. And she basically says, I don't know who I am without you. Because once you came into my life, you were my life. Knowing that you're not going to be there, I don't know who I am anymore. And it was so sad. And then she came to the realization where it's like, but seeing you suffer, hearing you suffer, I cannot do this to you. And if it's better for you to go, then I'd rather have that for you. You don't need to worry about me. I'll eventually figure it out. At the end of the day, you're my number one priority. And I'm just, keeping it brief. And that totally wrecked me. I started crying. I was like, oh my God, this is so sad. And that's basically everything that happens here. And after what happens, her character, Julia Louis Dreyfus's character, now has to find a way to push on, right? And yeah, it was just so emotional. And like I said, if you could get past the weirdness of the portrayal of death in this movie, then you're left with a very thought-provoking, emotional story here. With a performance I've never seen Julia do ever. I know she's dabbled in a lot of more serious stuff recently, and of course her little run in the MCU, but this is by far probably the best performance I ever seen her give. And yeah, I gave this movie a 4 out of 5 stars. I really like this movie. It's very, very, very hard-hitting and emotional, and a very well-done story that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to feel any of this when I decided to watch this movie. So I feel like this is one of those typical A24 movies that go under the radar. It could be like a hidden gem that if you do allow yourself a chance to watch it, this may potentially be worth the watch for you and for anyone who decides to give it a shot. So yeah. So Tuesday is a really great film. I'll talk a little bit more about it. After Scorched, I just saw breaking news. Mahershala Ali's lawyer just slammed Marvel, said the contract was signed 5 years ago and they still haven't filmed. Never seen anything like it in my career. Is that factual? Hold on, let me check my notifications because I usually get notified. By the way, Deadpool and Wolverine's targeting $200 million opening weekend. I'm not surprised about that. Hold on, y'all. I'm just checking my notifications. I'm not seeing anything yet. If it's true, I'm not surprised. Hollywood Reporter. Okay, let me hit up Hollywood Reporter, and then we'll get back to the Tuesday conversation real quick. All right, I'm here on the Hollywood Reporter. Let's see. More news. Basically, they reached out to Ali for comment. He didn't respond, but his lawyer did. Yeah, I don't know why I'm not seeing it. Hold on. I wonder if they made an update to their older article. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Let's go to comicbook.com. They seem to have a headline for it right here. All right. I'm going to share this on screen. Here we go. Blade, Mahershala Ali's rep calls shooting delays craziest thing in their career. Blade star, Mahershala Ali's representation called the Marvel's movie's shooting delays the craziest thing she's seen in her career. The Hollywood Reporter spoke to lawyer Shelby Weiser for a larger piece about representing massive stars like Ali. She says she can't believe that they haven't begun filming Blade yet. That deal was in 2019, and they still haven't shot it, which is pretty much the craziest thing in my professional experience, Weiser told the trade. Now the wait has been a while, but there have been multiple changes and course corrections over at Marvel Studios and Disney in the years between now and then. Not to mention a worldwide pandemic, blah, 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 for a year. And also, let's not forget the strikes also that happened last year, too. Still in a week where Blade has had a second director step away from the project, there's some script tweaks going on over at Marvel, courtesy veteran script doctor Eric Pearson. Michael Starbury penned the previous attempts at Blade, and the movie has yet to be moved from its 2025 release date. Ali remains attached to the project. However, the star is discussing Jurassic World 4 with Universal about a week ago as well. Keep your eyes trained on San Diego Comic-Con, as it's believed there will be an update during that presentation. So here's speculation time. All right. Will Blade still happen? At the moment, yes, but with Bob Iger talking about canceling movies that Disney is not 100% confident in, it's fair to wonder. Ali was a massive get for Marvel Studios and personally campaigned to be Blade. That was in a different world, though. 2019 is so far in a year in the rear view that anything can happen and will happen. As for now, fans should probably expect Blade to be pushed back to 2026. Didn't I say that before? I think I said that before. At the earliest, and something like Avengers 5 to get moved up in the pecking order. Whenever Blade does emerge from his cocoon for the hunt, the feature will be rated R. Recently, a lot of Marvel Studios' efforts have shifted to the parts of their fan base that have been clamoring for more adult-oriented content. Blah, 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 this and that. Late last year, Ali sounded encouraged by the direction of the project, but that's an eternity ago. But in the world of entertainment, we're working on it. That's the best I could tell you, the actor said in a new chat with Entertainment Weekly. I'm really encouraged with the direction of the project. I think we'll be back at it relatively soon. That was back when they announced that they were working on the script and all that. Oofa. That is this whole thing is a mess. I'm telling you right now. If he's being offered other franchises like Jurassic World, that I believe has Scarlett Johansson attached to it right now, I mean, I wouldn't say no to it. And if it's going to cause scheduling delays, I'll say F it. Because we know that they probably have their crap together over at Universal for the new Jurassic World movie, more so than Marvel has a grasp on what's happening with their stuff. So I won't be surprised if it's announced that he's going to join Jurassic World. And then at that point, guess what? He's got his major property, his major franchise, his major paycheck. Does he really need Marvel anymore at that point? Probably not, right? And that Jurassic World movie, whatever that movie is, will probably do much more money than Blade would, if you really think about it, right? So, wow. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Thank you for sharing that, Scorched. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Again, I won't be surprised if we hear more about this stuff happening in the next week or two. And when is San Diego Comic-Con? That's coming soon, right? So if they do somehow announce that Mahershala is going to be joining Jurassic World, then yeah. What's going on, Ados? Nice to see you back. Thank you. Ados, you've missed a lot because I've been streaming now for almost 4 hours. Wow. Never thought I'd be on this long. But we talked about a lot of stuff here, so yeah. Blade should be low budget, low stakes. No, I agree. I totally agree. I think at this point, honestly, if I were Disney, if I were Marvel right now, I would scrap the movie. Don't do the movie at all. Right? Let's drop it. Reconfigure it. Maybe give it the same treatment that Werewolf by Night was given. A little bit better. At least to give us a little taste, a little teaser. Maybe do a direct-to-streaming movie. Maybe do a limited series run or something. And then turn it into something that would truly warrant a full-blown blockbuster movie. I think right now there's no warrant for it. And it's showing that they're having issues creatively in trying to figure that out. Whatever is going on behind the scenes, right? But they need to do something fast because they have this, and I said this already earlier, they have a major talent that is attached to it that has been waiting forever. And it could be messing up his entire schedule on what he's accepting to do, what he's not accepting to do. You're ruining this guy's career at this point. And you don't want that to happen. So I can also understand why his agent is losing it. Or lawyer. Because I would be pissed off too. All right. Let's go back to the movie Tuesday. Because I want to explain why this movie surprised the hell out of me. Right? So yeah, so you go through most of the movies seeing a conversation between this girl and this CG bird, right? Which is crazy. Then when the mom shows up, that's when you start getting this other side of the story. So what happens in the movie is that they keep buying time. Death is not stuck in this girl's room the whole day. The mom doesn't want to hear it. The mom doesn't want to believe that her daughter is going to die, right? So basically, the mom is like, you know what? F you, Death. And she ends up killing, but not only killing Death, well, killing Death, you can't really kill Death, but swallowing him. First, she knocks the living crap out of him. Then she sets him on fire, about to bury him. And before he gets buried, he's still alive, shoves him in her mouth and eats him up. When I say this movie's strange, this movie's freaking strange, okay? And then, oh look, Star-Lord made it to the vertical stream. Blade! That's really funny. So, but what was nice about this is that the mom finally realized that it's very important to spend time with her daughter. So now they have like a rekindling, a rebonding. They're spending all day with her. You know, they're doing things together. They're having fun. They're watching TV. But then the daughter starts realizing, hey, mom, shouldn't you be at work? Why don't you show me upstairs? I haven't been upstairs in over a year. And the mom's like, oh, no, there's nothing upstairs. And then she's like, okay, since you're begging, I'll show you upstairs. And the daughter is realizing, and this was already alluded to earlier in the movie, that the mom has been selling a lot of their stuff to get money. So it's slowly unraveling that the mom was so depressed with what happened to her daughter that she was no longer able to work. So she's not working anymore. She's lying to her daughter when she leaves to work every day. That's why we only see her out in the park, eating cheese, buying time until it's time to get home. And in order to make ends meet, and most importantly, to pay for the daughter's medical bills and the nurse that they have, she's selling all of their stuff. And the daughter's like, what kind of life is this? You're not happy. I'm the cause of it. It becomes this big thing. And then in this heat of an argument, all of a sudden, Julia, her character, gets huge. Bang. Wait, what's happening? Turns out the fact that she ate death, death is now embodying her inside. And she's now possessing the powers of death. And death has the ability to increase in size, to shrink in size. That's the beginning of it. Now she's starting to hear all the suffering around the world, right? And the daughter's like, I know what's happening to you. I know what you did. You killed death. Now you're getting punished. Now you have to carry on death's job. It's like, really? Oh, I guess. Okay. Because remember, it's been like a whole week. Death has not existed at all. Right? So you have tons of people just like suffering out there. Flies all over the place. You have dogs' heads barking at people. People bleeding out but not dying. It's pandemonium, right? Scorch saying it's 4:20 in the morning. I need to sleep. This stream is too interesting. Kept me up way too long. Scorch, if you have to go to sleep, go to sleep. I really appreciate you being here. I love the conversation, obviously. There's always other streams. So if you need to go to bed, by all means, go to bed. But again, I want you to know that I love having you here. Star-Lord, you just had an angry video game nerd moment? What was it? So she's becoming like Loki. I guess, in a way, right? So she sees the first person that she sees. The same guy who had no... a guy who was apparently suffering from something that she had a run-in at the park. And he's up in the tree, right? And he's like... They'd say a prayer together, and he tells her, "You're doing God's work. Thank you." She does her thing, and he goes on. And she's realizing, wow, that's such an impactful thing to do for somebody. And she's experiencing going through all of this, right? And she's like, you know what? I kind of like this job. This is kind of neat. And I think you and I, meaning her and the daughter, we make a great team. So we should just do this from now on. And this is now our job. And it's really funny because she had made herself to be like this giant person. And she has her daughter literally strapped to her back, like in a backpack, kind of like Yoda in a way, right? And now we get to see a montage of her roaming the planet, roaming the earth, you know, doing death's job. And she seems to be having a good time. You know, she's making an impact to humanity, to the world. They take a little break. They're at a beach. And then she hears it for the very first time. Her daughter suffering to breathe, the pain she's going through, what the daughter has to do in order to get herself calm so that she can breathe normally. And then at the same time, she gets sick, meaning Julia, because death apparently never died and is awake again and forces his way out of her mouth. He's kind of mad. He's like, I don't appreciate what you did to me. But I understand what you're going through right now. And I appreciate you trying to do my job. But something needs to happen here. And they make a deal. It's like, all right, let me just have one last moment with my daughter. And that's when you have the heartfelt emotional moment where she finally pours herself out to her daughter. I'm nothing without you, but I have to learn to get over that. Blah, blah, this and that. So they go back home. Oh, this moment wrecked me too. They're lying in bed together. You could see the daughter's having her last breaths. And the daughter just looks at her mom and says, I really love you, Mom. Oh, heartbreaking, heartbreaking. I was in tears. And then death does his thing. She passes away, and Julia's character realizes for the very first time, that's it. It's over. And she just breaks down. Oh, game over. Game over for me. It was just done. I just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Now, you would think the movie would end there. It doesn't. Because we get to see how Julia is trying to cope with all of that. And she's trying. She really is. But you could tell she's supremely depressed. And very uncharacteristically, like, Death decides to give her a visit. And she's shocked. She's like, what are you doing here? Are you here to kill me? And he's like, no. I just came to see how you're doing. And she's like, honestly, not that great. I'm trying. Maybe it'll be better if I go. Maybe it'll be, maybe there's nothing left for me here. And I'll just be better because if there is an afterlife, then at least I could spend that moment with her. And Death is like, hold on a second. You made a promise to your daughter. And what the bird does is like, just very much like a macaw, can imitate someone's voice and replays the conversation that she had with her daughter. Don't worry about me. I'll be okay. I'll move on. All that stuff. He's like, you made that promise. And you have to try to move on and carry on. And then he leaves. And then you could see her just sitting there, thinking about it. And very much like how her daughter had to kind of do this mantra, do this counting in order for her to like breathe better. You see the mom basically just doing the same thing, but like, you can do this. You can do this. Get up. And then she gets up, and then that's it. Movie ends. Now, by hearing that, you can't say that that is not a very powerful way to tell a story, right? So, it is a great movie, great overall movie, amazing story, amazing performance. And yeah, it's just so very impactful that out of the movies I saw yesterday, and obviously I loved Inside Out too, this is the movie that even today I started thinking about in the morning. And just like any A24 movie, it's not always what you think it is. Yeah, it's strange at first, but when you really sit down and think about it, it's a very impactful story in the way they told it. Plus, again, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's performance was outstanding. Outstanding. So there you go. So it's like opposite of The Purge. There's only one death. He's from Bill and Ted. Yeah, there was no games here, unfortunately. There wasn't any kind of out testing or outwilling death. No one got to play Monopoly or Twister. So I'm saying, I'm seeing 555 on the clock, triple numbers once again. Oh, synchronicity. Something must be going good your way. Ooh, it's raining really hard right now. What's going on, Ravi? Nice to see you back here. The Triple Dent gum commercial came back. They brought back the gum commercial. Yeah, I thought that gum commercial callback was actually really funny. Yeah, that's another reference to Inside Out too. Yeah. No, I really, really appreciated Inside Out too. Like I said, great movie. Everyone should do themselves a favor and watch it. if not if not anything, it is, I think, and should be moving forward, a very important set of movies, one and two, to show your kids so that they could understand a little bit more about what they're feeling and that it's okay with what they're going through, especially when they become a teenager. That, yeah, things are going to be tough. You'll be confused, but that's okay. It's all part of growing up, you know? So, so there you go. So Robbie, I'm happy to hear that you liked it. And it's already 4 hours. And yeah, I think it's about, I'll stay on for like another 10 minutes to close things out in case anyone has some last minute stuff to talk about. Starred means change, good luck, transformation, freedom, and personal growth. As far as synchronicity, if that's what you're talking about. Wow, it's really raining hard. Well, hopefully it'll make things a little cooler because it's we've been kind of suffering from a lot of humidity lately. But yeah. What are everyone's plans for the weekend? I love that. I love it that it's always positive. Always seek the positive. Starla, what are you referring to? Sorry if I'm not getting. We just talked about so many different things, so it's kind of funny. Like my mind is just like, you know. The search for the meaning in numerology. Well, everything should. Well, I mean, just my point of view. Everything should be kind of, always good to seek out positive. That I've always believed in that. It's a waste of time, waste of breath to always focus on negative. Certain synchronicities. Synchronicity. Great album and song by The Police. I know I said that joke before, but I can't help it. I like it. I like being silly. I'm like Riley in Inside Out 1. I have Goofball Island. That's part of my personality. I can't help it. The message is not of shadow work, but light work. Light bright, turn on the magical Maui light, blah blah light. I think I'm getting delirious, y'all. Oh my god, it's already 7 o'clock. Are you serious? I haven't even eaten today yet. Oh no, I might have a repeat of yesterday. So maybe I should just go and eat. I might have an explosive moment of clarity in the bathroom later.
Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
I'm gonna come. Wow.
All right, y'all. I think I'm going to call it. I do have some things I need to do. So I had no idea it was already 7 o'clock. But you know what they say? Time flies when you're sleeping. No, time flies when you're having fun, right? That's what they say, isn't it? But of course, I always have fun whenever I'm here and I get a chance to conversate and talk to all of you guys. Really, really deeply and greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate the love and just the chats. Love the chats today. Really great stuff. So, yeah, doubtful that I'm going to be back streaming this weekend. I think I'm going to take a little break. I'll be back again on Monday with the box office breakdown, breaking down the box office performance and going over some of the more recent news that dropped in the past couple of days and all that. So make sure to tune in then. If I do somehow stream on the weekend, it might be on Sunday, but that's just going to be maybe a stream of me playing a game or two and all that. So yeah. So we'll see what happens. Stay tuned to the channel. Of course, I love updating everyone with the posts and all. So that's the best way to get up this, stay up to date with everything and all that. So let me just quickly shout out all the people I appreciate from today's stream. Obviously, of course, Star-Lord. You have Ravi and Sorana, a strong duo. That's the full name right there. Scorched You, really appreciate it. Ados, I love that you came by and said hello. Kevin Davis, always a love and appreciate the stats drop. Arnold, really appreciate it. Let's see, who else? Jester, appreciate you, Jester, as always. Well, not as always. I think this is your first time here, so I will moving forward, as always. Who else did I miss out on? Lil Sa, AKB, of course, with his train passion and knowledge being dropped. Love that, as always. Let's see, who else? Just want to make sure I don't miss out anybody. Well, that's as far as my chat history will go back to. But anyone else who has been able to come in, tune in, chime in, enjoy the time, enjoy the company, enjoy the conversation. Appreciate all of you. So thank you so much. I'm going to head on out for now. Stay cool, stay class, stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy your weekends. If I don't see you, hope to see you back on Monday or anytime next week. Namaste. Good evening. Good morning. Good afternoon. All that stuff. Peace out. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.